Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hotter Than Hell podcast. This is your last stop on the crazy train of hard rock and heavy metal. So sit back, buckle in, and hang on. Here we go.
Hello out there, you Hotter Than Hellions. Welcome to another episode of the Hotter Than Hell podcast. My name is Steve Wright. I am here joined as always with my trusty co-host BC.
Hello everyone.
And this week we have a special guest co-host and his name is Chris Jankauskas. Hey Chris, what's up?
Hey, great to be here.
Thanks for showing up. We're going to talk to you about your influences in a couple minutes. Right now I'm going to get into what we like to do every week. We like to thank everybody that has helped us out, encouraged us throughout the week, the podcast and everything. My awesome wife, Corey, she puts up with this craziness. Jim Polkowski, who was our awesome guest last week. Our special guest friend that stopped by, R.A. Furiosi. Our buddy BB, Killian Bannon. Trevor McDougall, here's a guy that interacted with us pretty good. He gave us some cool show ideas. And Trevor, we're working on a couple of those ideas. Gene Grossman, our buddy Girth, Joe Mangieri, Greg Hupchick, Ed Spangenberg, thanks for the album cover. I will post that, definitely. Mateo Valencia, Sonny Pooney, who you will be hearing again very soon on this show. Spencer Wetmore, Florencia Zerdo, Kaylin Provo, Jen Vayner-Roberts, Laura Oxman, Alan Smith, Greg Cornell, Cindy Russick, Walt Egentovich, Randy Bannon, Michelle Sarah. She's a new listener. Hey, Michelle, how are you? Matt Dutch Burnett, Dennis Michael McCall, Christine Gallinat Epistolico, Chris Groh. He's from the Kiss World podcast, a really cool Kiss podcast if you guys want to check out something that is actually very cool. Nick Uzalko, Rich White-Lavich, Adam Johnson, Ken Keenan, we want to thank you for your 5-star review on iTunes. It was awesome. Thank you very much. Ken Keenan is from the Kiss FAQ podcast. Adam Scotchless, Iron Mike Tallarico, Tamara Sweeney Wally, Stephen Michael, he is from the Growing Up Rock podcast that he does along with Sonny Pooney. Joe Takash Jr., Rui Oakley, Vanessa Polkowski, Lori Wills, Joel Williams, and Colby Donahue. Thank you guys for listening and interacting with us. We really appreciate it. Keep the comments coming. Keep all the, all your ideas and stuff. We love interacting with you guys. Once again, thank you. You guys can find us on iTunes. You can find us on YouTube. And we're on Twitter, BC, right? And we actually found a new one this week that we were on. It's called Castbox. I came across that, just surfing around the internet, and boom, there our podcast was on there, which was actually really pretty cool. And we're going to get right to it. So, hey, Chris, welcome to the podcast, and thanks for, giving your time for us. And give us your little background here.
It all started early on. My parents always had music going on in the house, AM radio, AM Gold on local station WCDL, and so hearing all the hits. This is real early, probably 3-4 years old. Dad had an 8-track stereo component.
8-tracks.
And so kind of getting more focused, Band on the Run, Paul McCartney and Wings, I remember vividly as I got a little bit older. Also Steppenwolf and, kind of the 60s and early 70s. But fast forwarding to the late 70s, used to go visit my cousins in New York, big Kiss fans. They had a super awesome stereo system. I think it was Techniques, Harman Kardon combo. And they had a basement kind of kid cave, I guess you can call it. I got turned on to what was new at the time, Styx. The Grand Illusion.
Oh, that awesome album.
Also, Equinox, one of my favorite albums by them, and 400 Double Vision. I thought that was a great album, and that was actually the first record that I was gifted. Really became a big Styx fan. Paradise Theater was the next one I bought. That was probably the first on cassette. And I was kind of so-so to it. Rockin' the Paradise was really good, but it all really exploded in the summer of '81 when I heard Van Halen Fair Warning. It turned my life upside down. All of my baseball and football heroes went to the wayside, and Eddie Van Halen became my guy. Cream Magazine, Circus, all of the pullouts, they were on my wall. And that actually was on 8-track. That was introduced to me by an older guy in the neighborhood. He was probably about 14. I was 10 at the time. And
who was that?
His name was Glenn Ruddy.
Okay.
And so along with my brother, my dad had this portable 8-track, battery operated.
Was it one of the ones with the handle on it?
Yes, it was.
All right.
Yes, it was.
You
And
can push the handle in, it changes the tracks.
Absolutely. And so, Glenn said, hey, can you grab that off your father? And we grew up in the Colebrook Playground, which is on the West Side Fell Township line of Carbondale here. Listened to Fair Warning, and I remember Sinner Swing, the way Dave said, she was so fucking good. It was just,
Holy shit, he said fucking a song.
It was incredible. And then, after we got done with that, well, here's another one, Van Halen 1. And I heard Eruption, and I was like, what is that?
Wow. So Chris got it back. Chris got it, I won't say backwards, but kind of backwards.
Yeah. Well, that was, Fair Warning was brand new. It just came out late in the spring.
Hey, there's worse places you can start. And going back to you with Styx, there are other Paradise Theater. I can't see them following Grand Illusion. I mean, that's my Styx album.
It's a great album.
Awesome.
Castle Walls. Was always
oh
one
my
of my
God,
favorites.
Castle Walls. I love Castle Walls.
That's when you could imagine music before it was given to you in video.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You didn't need a video then. The imagery of the songs were so great. Awesome. And real quick before we get into everything, the news and everything here, you have a band, and they're called Shindig, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Tell us just briefly a little bit about that.
Sure. Just formed this band in May of this year. It's myself, I play guitar, Mike and Jay Critchley. Mike is our lead vocalist, and Jay is a drummer, and PJ McGovern, he plays bass. And so we got a couple shows under our belt. We practice every week. It's really a great outlet to not only practice every week, but to play out.
That's cool. Yeah,
Classic rock, we mix in some Van Halen, some other stuff in there.
Yeah, I hope to get to see you guys one of these days soon. It seems like every time you guys played, you guys did the Feldstock, right?
Yeah.
And we were headed to a baseball game that day, and the timing didn't work. So I can't wait to see you guys. And I know the guys in your band, Mike and Jay, are great. I went to school with Mike. PJ is a great guy too. We do a yearly golf trip, and he's gone with us a couple times. Super nice guys. Best of luck to you guys with that.
Thanks.
Hope we get to see you guys.
We're going to be playing the Big Ball tournament here in Carbondale, the Friday night. So that's September 1st, I believe.
September 1st, okay.
Labor Day weekend.
Maybe we'll have to go up there, BC. Check it out. We're going to do a couple quick news items. The internet, Kiss fans mostly, the last couple days it's just been Vinnie Vincent crazy out there. It's been announced that he will be at the Atlanta Kiss Expo and on January, I think it's the 19th and the 20th, which is kind of weird because he's doing it on Paul Stanley's birthday. See, Dylan, we got the Kiss right away again.
Yeah, it took you less than 10 minutes to
see. That's not bad. That's not bad. But I mean, as far as rock music goes, that's news. This guy has not been heard from in over a decade, I think. And I'm pretty anxious to see how that's going to go. He's supposed to actually. You say September 1st. He's supposed to release a video message to, I don't know if it's his fans or the fans or a fan, that he's supposed to do a video message to everyone out there about the expo and everything. So PC shaking his head.
I'm just getting this whole Michael Jackson vibe off all this. I don't know why. It's weird.
Michael Jackson.
It is like Vinny is
the
just,
weirdness of it.
The weirdness of it all, and the way he's so secretive and disappeared, and he's coming out with a video message. I mean, it's Michael Jackson.
All right. Okay.
So you're not going to be wearing your Ankh makeup to the...
No.
That's BB. He's the big Vinnie Vincent guy in our group. You can say hi, BB. I was going to introduce you later, but you can say hi.
Hellions, what's up? Just playing bartender tonight.
All right, and we are going to hear from BB again later in the show. Any thoughts on Vinnie Vincent, Chris?
Well, I remember when Vinny got into the band, that was Unmasked era, I believe, right? Or no, I'm not a big Kiss fan, but
when they
I
did
like
Unmask
Kiss.
for Lick It Up.
Yeah, when they unmasked, quote unquote.
I mean, he was in the band for Creatures of the Night tour, but he was the guitar player when they did take the makeup off.
Okay, so I think that Lick It Up is a great album. I liked it when it came out, and I still like the majority of that album. I kind of discovered Kiss a little bit later on, and growing up in the 70s, Kiss they were just a phenomenon. They were, in my opinion, the biggest band. Wherever you went, you saw Kiss, from the mall to the NBC special.
Yeah.
The Halloween special, as it was when we first saw it, Phantom of the Park. And I think that Kiss is a really good band. I disagree with what they're doing as far as continuing on with different members and costumes and makeup, but I respect them very much, especially Gene and Paul.
Okay, cool. Very cool. My thoughts on Vinnie Vincent, I'm just of the school of let's see how it goes, you know. They're supposed to do a meet and greet on Friday night with him, and they sold we're selling 100 tickets for it, and they sold out within, I don't know, a day or something like that. So hopefully the same guy that's running it is the same guy that ran the Peter Criss stuff that he did in New York City and with the Expo, and I guess a lot of people were pissed off that, people bought a meet and greet tickets for Friday, and they weren't able to meet Peter. They were fucking pissed. They had to come back the next day. They said, get in line early. I mean, it turned out okay, I guess, and then they had a bus tour planned or something like that, and there wasn't enough seats on the bus. I guess it got all kind of, there were people that were pissed off. But, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully he lived and learned. BB was thinking of, he threw out an idea for us to take the train down to Atlanta to see, to go see but you never know. We may get on the Amtrak. It could happen.
Never done a train ride.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun time.
Yeah. That's something we haven't done. We haven't taken the train anywhere. And another tidbit of news for BC that's going to be interested in, Bruce Dickinson is releasing his solo material on vinyl.
Bruce Dickinson.
For you vinyl guys out there, that looks like it's going to be cool. It's going to be a box set. It's going to be in this green box, and it's they had some kind of name for it. I wrote it down somewhere, but I don't know where the hell it is. But that looks pretty cool. Chris, you familiar with any Bruce Dickinson solo stuff?
Not so much solo stuff. Iron Maiden is a comprehensive catalog, yes. And
Okay.
They're awesome. I saw them in 2000. They blew my head off. I would have liked to see them again.
Did you see him down Montage?
Yes.
Okay, we were at that show too.
Yeah.
That was a real good
Was that
show.
Brave New World Tour?
Yes.
Brave New World Tour.
Which is a
That
great
was
album.
with
a great album.
Halford and Queensryche.
Yep.
Was it?
Yep.
That's a good lineup.
Yeah,
I
real good
had
show.
really good seats. I was right up front, and
That's cool.
right
We
in
were
front of Steve
maybe
Harris.
15 rows back, maybe, I think. But great show. Dylan handed me my paper that I had floating around here. It's called Solo Works, going off of the Skunk Works album title, I'm assuming. Chemical Wedding and Tyranny of Souls, that's going to be released in double vinyl, I guess. They said, to enhance the sound of it. BC, you're a vinyl guy. What do you think?
I'm excited. That's the first I'm hearing this song.
Oh, really?
Yes, I didn't see it.
You got to get online once in a while.
I did. I didn't see it. I didn't see nothing today.
No? Okay. So we got Bruce Vinyl coming out. We got Vinnie Vincent. And one of the bands that we love here at Potter Than Hell Podcast is the Black Country Communion. Joe Bonamassa, Glenn Hughes, Jason Bonham, and Derek Sherinian. I mean, there is a true supergroup in my opinion. They have 3 albums out. This is going to be called BCC 4. And it comes out September 22nd. And apparently they recorded this album in 7 days. And there's a couple of videos online that show the recording process and stuff. And they already have a video out, and it's fantastic. Just look it up, check it out. BC, what do you think about these guys?
I like it. I mean, I'm a fan of Jason Bonham, Glenn Hughes. I mean, that's a super.
And Glenn Hughes, there's just the pipes that he still has are just
Still has
just
to this day.
incredible. What's your feelings on that, Chris?
Oh, it's Glenn Hughes going back in the Purple days, Deep Purple. I mean, he has a great set of pipes, as you said, and he's a great bass player. Bonamassa is just an unbelievable guitar player.
Yeah.
It is a super group.
Yeah, he is. Joe Bonamassa is just insanely good.
And it's amazing that they can record an album that quickly. It reminds me of the old days with like Van Halen, for instance. Women and Children First, I believe they recorded it in 10 days.
Now it takes them a year or more to record anything. One more quick thing, BC. I know you're going to be disappointed. The Kiss Cruise is full.
Damn it.
You could get on the waiting list though. It's $200 to get on the waiting list.
Well, I thought he was going to take his rowboat and
You're gonna
paddle
follow behind. I'll throw a line out and we'll put a rope ladder down over the deck. You can get on. Just to bust the BC's ass, because here's a guy that needs to go on the Kiss Cruise, but for some reason, he doesn't want to go.
I'm afraid of the water.
Oh yeah.
Steve, did you go? Did you ever go to one?
I did. I did. I went last year. Coming up in a couple weeks, my buddy Rob went with us. Him and his lovely wife Carol and their 2 awesome kids, Emily and Ryan, went. And my buddy Chris Granza, him and his awesome girlfriend Tasha went. And then we met 2 of our friends, Aaron and Deborah, on there. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to have Chris and Rob on. We're going to do a Kiss Cruise show. We're going to do talk about what took place last year and what our expectations were and what's happening this year. Kind of a pre-Kiss Cruise show. We want to make sure that everything is totally set for the cruise before we start talking about it. We don't want to talk out of our ass and have them do something that we said was and have it be bullshit. But that's going to be coming up in a couple weeks. So, but it was back to your question. It was an awesome time. It was just
Did you get to meet the band or interact any way with them, or do you have to pay premiums for that?
No, you pay. GSimmons.com gets it.
Only because I know how Gene operates.
Yeah. No, you get your picture taken with the band. You can pick whether you get your picture taken with the makeup or the band without. Of course, I took with the makeup.
Sure.
It was amazing. Play a electric sail away show. They did last year. They're doing some acoustic storyteller show or something this year, which we'll get into on the episode. But it was great. I mean, there were a ton of bands on there. You know, people are under the assumption that it's just Kiss on this cruise, and it's not. There's so much more on that cruise. It's just, you know, and number one, it's a cruise, and you know, if you go on a cruise ship and don't have fun, then there's something seriously wrong with you. You know, especially with, you know, Kiss and other bands and shit being on there, and 5,000 other like-minded people. How can it not be awesome? So that's all we got there. We're gonna talk real quick about a new album this week by Accept. It's called The Rise of Chaos, and BC's putting the horns up already. And we are gonna get into the Accept album real quick here. Thoughts on it, Chris?
I listened to it today. Really enjoyed it. I haven't really heard Accept since the first album came out. Balls to the Wall was a big song back in '84, I believe it came out. The highlights on that album for me were Die by the Sword, the first song. I liked Analog Man. It seems as if they've got a bit of a political and environmental statements in the lyrics. They've had a long career, and it's not easy to write good music, especially, you know, when you get further down the road in your career. And I like what they did, and you know, to me it was fresh because I don't know the rest of their catalog, and so it was fresh for me. I thought their playing was very good, especially the guitars, great tone.
Yeah, they have an awesome tone, don't they? See, on this show at least, when we talk about tone, Chris knows what the hell he's talking about. Unlike me talking about guitar tone, I'm just, you know, a plinker. Sorry to interrupt you, Chris.
No problem. And you know,
I will do that a lot.
I thought they played very well, and so if you can listen to something the first time and you don't find yourself skipping through songs, which I didn't. I was cutting the grass on my headphones when I was doing, so I kind of mindless, and I was able to focus and hear the music, and I thought it sounded really good, and I'll probably give it another listen.
Good.
Give it a thumbs up for you hellions.
Excellent. BC.
Continuing to say the third album with Mark on vocals.
Fourth album with Mark.
It's continuing where they left off the last album, I think. Just good tone.
Good old straightforward metal.
Straightforward rock,
it's just it is. It's a great album. And BC's new theme song is on there, a song called Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, no matter what they say.
Yeah, that's one of our inside jokes at the firehouse, drinking the Kool-Aid. I won't get into it any further than that. And my thoughts are, I'm along with these guys. Just a great, straightforward metal album. Give new music a shot. Give it a chance. You know, listen to. They're not a new band by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, there's some good quality new stuff out there. People just get out there, take an hour a week, listen to at least one album all the way through, something different. Pull out something that you haven't heard in a while. If you listen to our older episodes, hopefully a couple of those albums sparked something in you that, hey, maybe I'll go back and listen to the second album from Pantera that I haven't heard in a long time.
Really
Dylan's giving me the look. No. But like, you guys check out the new Accept. You know, we'll give you one free one. Download one song and listen to it if you like it. You know, buy the rest, or you know, if you have a streaming service, the bands get credit for it if you check it out like that. Okay, so there's our preliminary stuff here, and we are going to get into our topic. Our topic this week is going to be one show about Ronnie James Dio, better known as Ronnie James Dio. And we are going to cover the period from his Holy Diver album, which came out in 1983, up until Intermission, when that came out in June of 86. We're not going to get too much crazy into the newer stuff, but we're going to start out with just a quick background. And I got to say before we get going, when I first got into Dio, it was Chris's brother Ed, him and one of our other friends called, his name's Dave Leo. Not Dave Leo, Andy Leo, I'm sorry. That's his brother. And I had Heaven and Hell by then and a couple Black Sabbath albums, but I wasn't really crazy into it. But then when Holy Diver came out, your brother Ed said, you know, check this out.
It brings back memories. Andy Leo was a friend of mine. He was. We all lived in the same neighborhood, and so going back to that time, I was referring to you know, the Goldberg Playground. We had a gang that we all hung out, and Andy, he was always good at getting new albums. And Dave and Andy's uncle, who lived, I believe, in Mechanicsburg. They were turned on by quite a few bands through their uncle, including Rainbow. And so when Black Sabbath had broken up, he immediately went out and got Dio's new album. And hanging out at Dave's house, I saw Holy Diver, and Dave said, "You got to check this album out. My brother just got it." And we put it on the record player. Stand Up and Shout came on, and it was like, whoa.
Yeah, there's not a better song out. There's a lot of great opening songs, but that one, that just instantly is like right in your face. Great thing, because I remember your brother. I think I listened to his, and then I went out. I think maybe the next day I went to Ames, our awesome place for music where we used to go, and I bought and actually Chris bought. We'll post them, the actual cassette boxes from the first two Dio albums, The Holy Diver and Last in Line. And I put that in, and I remember I got that right before Thanksgiving of the year that I had to be 83 or 84. And I listened, we went to my aunt's in New Jersey, and I put that in my Walkman, and I listened to that all the way down and all the way back. And like by the time we came back, I just knew every song, every lick, every lyric. It was just fantastic.
And do we know what the mascot of the band is?
We do. You could tell us, though.
It's Murray.
Murray, yeah. So, the album.
You were saying you got it in November?
Yeah, it was right around things, because I specifically remember listening to it. It came out
May 25th.
May 25th, so it had been out for a while, but that was when I just had gotten listening to it. So that's when I really, really checked it out.
Yeah, that period of time, 1983. There were so many good bands that were putting great records out, and it was really hard to see a standout at the time. And I really, and I might be in the minority here, but when it comes to Black Sabbath, I really like the Dio years. I know they only made two albums.
I do too. We talked about that's the Sabbath that I listened to first. That was my first exposure to Sabbath.
And I knew Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, and Mob Rules was only a year old when this came out. Obviously, they had Live Evil out too, which is why the band broke up, as we all know. But just to hear that record, it just stood out. And I mean, you had. For those about the rock, I think it was kind of new at the time, and
I have
old Fair Warning, or not Fair Warning, but Diver Down.
Yeah. Because actually, what I'd like to do is I like to check out other stuff that was out on the years of the albums we're talking about, and I did write something down. AC/DC, Flick of the Switch, Pyromania was out from Def Leppard, Iron Maiden, Peace of Mind, Kiss, Lick It Up, Metallica, Kill 'Em All just came out, Accept, Balls to the Walls, Bark at the Moon. And I would say that Dio had an excellent advantage over his former band Black Sabbath, because they put out Born Again, which I think sounds we talked about it on our show.
The production on it's not good.
There's some good songs on there, but the production just absolutely kills that album.
I do like the album, though. And I'm a big Deep Purple fan, and Ian Gillan, I think
he did a good job. But
I don't understand how that all even evolved.
I know.
A year later, they reformed as Deep Purple and released Perfect Strangers. So
which is another classic album. Yeah, so I mean, there was, like you said, there was a lot of stiff competition out there for actual metal albums, because if you want to use the term hair metal and stuff, a lot of that stuff was a couple years down the road.
Sure, that really didn't come out until Bon Jovi era.
Yeah, till like 80, 85, 86, maybe, when all that shit happened. So you had a period of a lot of good metal albums and stuff like that coming out at that time. And Holy Diver, I think, was right up at the forefront with a lot of those albums.
I got the stick up for your wife here too. 1983 was also Motley Crue. Shout at the Devil, man. Come on, how can you
shout out to my wife.
How the hell did I miss that?
How do you miss that one?
Which, by the way, Ryan, your first concert was Motley Crue and Ozzy, as well as mine. Broome County Arena. Bark at the Moon tour. What an incredible,
but you didn't tell your mother you're going the Ice Capades, though, did you?
No, that Dave Leo's father, rest in peace, Mr. Andy Leo. He took us up, and it was the guys from Neighborhood Dave and Sean Rossler and Bob Morrison and myself, and it was in January '84. And I remember, I was 13 years old, walking in that arena, general admission. And
the way it should
Motley Crue. I didn't even know who Motley Crue was, other than I heard "Shout at the Devil" a few times on the radio. I'm sorry, I misspoke there. I heard "Looks That Kill," and when they came out, they just blew everybody away. And what impressed me the most is during the break between Motley Crue and Ozzy, I saw tons of people leaving. And
really,
yeah. Motley Crue shirts. I'm like, who are these guys? A month later, they were the biggest new band out there. And it was cool that we didn't really know.
We did.
Brian and I graduated together, but we really didn't know each other well back then.
Back then, no.
Yeah, and
Because we're about
it's
seventh
crazy.
grade.
But like,
Seventh grade.
here's 5 guys sitting in this room that music brought us all together. I was friends with Chris's brother years ago, and we just pretty recently became friends. I think we were acquaintances,
Yeah.
but BC and BB, we've been friends forever. But like BC and I, pretty much like we knew of each other. Like I knew about BC, like I said there on our first episode about our little Kiss Cheap Trick thing there. But it's the music, That's the reason why we're here. It's great. And it just brings people together and, brings friends. And here we are drinking our beers, talking about the cool shit that we like.
It's a common bond. Even when I run into you guys separately or together, it was always a great intellectual conversation, I would say, about music. You guys really know your stuff. You really...
Like when we would go to M3 in Baltimore, Maryland. Here we are, complete strangers we never met in our lives, and you can sit and have conversation for 2-3 hours with people you never met before.
Not
Yeah.
that Steve wants to have a conversation with some of those people.
No, I don't mind,
sometimes.
but it's always the weirdos that come up and talk to me. Like the normal people talk to everybody. BB's dying here.
Well, you guys are famous. I mean, you were on VH1 at M3. So.
Yeah, actually, that is true.
And who did all the talking on that segment?
It was me. But they filmed probably a good 5 to 10 minutes of stuff with us. Metal Evolution, I think
Yeah,
it was.
Metal
Metal
Evolution.
Evolution.
And it
during
was
the hair metal.
They did the hair metal one. They were at the M3 festival, and they were going around the parking lot talking to various people and stuff like that. And they came right over to us, and they're like, "Hey, you guys don't look like you're the typical hard rock metal people, whatever." And so we got talking and stuff like that, and we'll try and find the clip and we'll put it on there. And actually, we did make the cut. We are on the show, so we're officially documented. Like Dylan said, they ended up putting me doing most of the talking on there, which was kind of cool. We'll try and find that. It was cool. But like BC said, like people you don't know come up, and there's a lot of but there's, like I said, the flakes talk to me. They do. They just seek me out. Real quick, we went to see Judas Priest down in. Dylan was waiting for the story to come out. We went to see Judas Priest and who was it? Black Label Society and Thin Lizzy. We stayed in the parking lot and drank the thing Lizzy was on. Black Label Society gets over, so we go out to get another beer. Everybody goes to the bathroom. I get done first, so I'm standing in the lobby, and there's one person in the fucking stadium, in the arena rather, with a wizard outfit on. Moons and suns and the pointy hat with the fucking tassel on it, and there's probably 1,500 people out walking around and stuff like that, and he comes over and he starts talking to me, and I'm like, really? And then the worst part was, look, BC's dying over there. These guys come out of the bathroom, and these fuckers walk by me like they didn't even fucking know me. Even my own son just totally fucking disowned me. Walk right by me, and I'm just watching these guys go by, and he's like, bah, 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 bah. I'm like, what? I'm like, I get back to the seat. I'm like, I hate all you motherfuckers.
I was a victim of peer pressure.
I was like, oh my God. I'm sure, because these guys are probably like, look who's talking to your dad. Just keep walking.
He's with the wizard.
But it was
Good story.
He's with the wizard. Oh, that was funny.
Oh my God! I mean, and trust me, that happens to me all the time wherever we go. Happened again this year at M3. We'll save that for one of the M3 shows. But all right, so let's talk a little bit about Holy Diver. Songs like we talked about, Stand Up and Shout, great song, and it goes right into the title track, Holy Diver. I like to use this term, very atmospheric song. You get the keyboards coming in the beginning, and it kicks. It's another song that kicks in. Great title track. And,
Not just the keyboards, but the wind.
The wind, yeah, that's true. I did what I normally do for these shows. I will make a playlist and play all the albums in a row, and I just like that song. It's just like Chris said, you could hear the wind swirling around, and it kicks in. It's great. And I just want to talk real quick the production on it. It's produced by Ronnie James Dio. Dylan loves when I talk about producers. But it's produced fantastic, though. It's a great sounding album. It's you could hear everything clear. You could hear the bass, the drums, guitars, like all clear.
He pretty much, talk about producer, he produced the first 3 to 4 that I know of off the top of my head.
Yeah. Let's talk about the band.
Vivian.
How it started. Obviously, with the tiff that Ronnie got into with the guys in Sabbath, he wanted out. after Live Evil, and he took Vinny Appice with him. So let's form a band.
Great drummer, and he's I think he's an odd drummer. I think some of his beats and stuff like that are.
Well,
I don't mean odd in a bad way, but just he's a different type of drummer.
Brian, I know you're a drummer, and you can speak to this.
He has his own little.
One thing I noticed as a non-drummer, but as a musician, like, and especially when you see him live, he always has that do-do-do-do with the bass drum.
Yeah.
He carries it like it's almost like that extra little note as a guitar player. But I always considered him one of my favorite drummers. He's very unique. Jimmy Bain. I mean, Jimmy Bain taking his former Rainbow bandmate with him. And Vivian Campbell, Vivian Campbell was a new guy.
New guy back then.
And
yeah, he was in a band called Sweet Savage, I guess. They were like a band from Ireland, and phenomenal. I think he was maybe 19 or 20 years old, I think, when they recorded that album. Just like a phenomenal player. And it's cool, too, because Ronnie's well-known. Jimmy Bain was known from his stuff in Rainbow. Vinny was known from his stuff with Sabbath and him. But here's, no one knew Vivian Campbell. And when I first saw it, I'm like, is that a girl playing? Is that a girl in the band? Stupidly, I'm however old I was at that time. What was that? What year was that?
83.
83.
the big thing for
So
us
I was 15.
at the time was who's better, Vivian or Jake? And, they both were great. Same year, Bark the Moon came out after Holy Diver, but Vivian Campbell, what a monster player, and no disrespect to him in Def Leppard, but
He's wasted in there.
It's just like, who is this guy? I get it.
Yeah.
He built a career on Def Leppard, but wow,
Yeah,
what
you
a
gotta pay the
phenomenal
bills. You
player.
gotta pay the bills.
Just a great player. Just the riffs he wrote, just his solo is very unique. You know it's Vivian Campbell when he's playing.
Oh, definitely. Our buddy Dave Borowski, he goes crazy when when Rainbow in the Dark comes on, and not so much for the song, but he told me one day, he said, just listen to the solo in that song. Just the stuff that he does in the solo alone is just like crazy. I guess you just spoke about Jakey Lee. He supposedly tried out for Dio.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
And so he picked Vivian. I mean, great choice, and I think they both made the right decisions for who they went with. Although I'm not sure if the decisions were up to them. They're just musicians looking for a job, but I think each guy ended up in the band that they should have at the time.
Yeah.
Vivian Campbell, monster player. We can't say enough about him. We're going to talk a lot more about him as we go along here. Other songs on there, Gypsy, great song. Caught in the Middle, kind of too popish for me. I can absolutely live without that song.
I like it.
Do you really?
Yeah, there's not a song on that album I don't.
Oh, there's not a song that I hate,
It
but
just
it's one of the ones that I like the least on there. I just want to put that out there. There's not a bad song on there, but that's one I could.
I don't think there's a bad Dio song, period, actually. I'm sure there's something, but in the big scheme of it, off the first three, I don't think there's any bad
the first
songs.
three.
Sacred Heart.
I think Sacred Heart had a couple weak songs on there. We'll get to that one too.
The first two, though, I think is phenomenal, both of them.
And as you move along, how can you not love "Don't Talk to Strangers"?
Yeah, it might be my favorite song on the album.
I love that song. I love that song is so great. Starts out, so it's really like the older brother of the Last in Line song, I think. Starts out with that slowness, and then it kicks in. Just a phenomenal song.
The lyrics, Ronnie's writing is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It's just like right off the charts. Lyrically excellent, musically excellent. Then it goes into Straight Through the Heart, which is another great driving song.
Signature, man. The opposite.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Just right?
Starts out with it, and then kicks right in. Invisible. This is probably my favorite song on the album.
Wow.
I have to agree.
Funny you say that, because I listened to this today.
Is that the one you like the least?
Probably my favorite song on the album.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
I listened to that last night. I sat on my porch, and I actually hit the back button like 3 times on it. I just love when the solo starts.
The solo on it.
And then it kicks in even more, and it goes back into the rhythm of the song. It is just like
Going back to the
fucking
lyrics,
great.
though, too. The lyrics are just incredible. Just what a writer.
It is. I mean, you get to think, was he held back in any of these other bands? Because when he was in Sabbath, Geezer Butler up to that point before he got in the band was writing all the stuff for all the lyrics and stuff for Sabbath, and then like Ronnie James Dio comes in. Like, I wonder how much the parody was of him and Geezer writing lyrics. You know what I mean? Was he not able to get all of his stuff in? You know, did Geezer just say, you know, I'm going to take a back seat to you and let you write the lyrics? But I'm going to probably assume that was probably not the case.
You have to wonder. And when he was in Rainbow, he wrote all the lyrics. Of course, Richie Blackmore, a very difficult musician to work with. I love Richie, but you know, he probably had some riffs with both Geezer and Tony in writing.
Yeah, so I mean, just magical lyrics on that album.
Just
crazy.
The opening lyric is great. If your circle stays unbroken, then you're a lucky man.
Because it never ever has for me. You know, just great. I thought when you said that, I thought you were going to say, "Oh, that's like my least favorite song," and I was going to say, "Are you out of your fucking mind?"
The next one's probably my least favorite song because it's the hit, but I still love it.
Yeah, it is. Rainbow in the Dark. You know, that's the. You know, but I don't think that there's going to be fans out there going to the what we'll talk about later, the hologram show, saying, "Oh, you know, I'm there just to see Rainbow in the Dark." If you're listening to Dio, you have to know more songs than that. You're not going to go to a show just to hear Rainbow in the Dark.
I'm sure there's people out there.
Well, true. I can't say definitely for sure, but
Shame
Shame on even more Shame on the Night. That was a song. I don't know if I just got to Rainbow in the Dark and just like shut it off a lot after that. Like I listened to that. I'm like, I really didn't listen to that song very much. I don't know if it's just because it's the last song on the album or what. I don't know, but decent song.
The thing that I could say I don't like about it is the intro. Once it
with
starts,
a howling wolf on the front.
It reminded me of Hush, Deep Purple.
Yeah.
I thought he could be a little bit more original than that, and then you know just the shame on the night. Good bass line, but then it starts picking up and getting better, and it ends up pretty strong. But yeah, I agree with you, Steve.
Yeah, I don't think it's not a very.
Does it catch you out of the gate?
Yeah,
right.
I think maybe if they threw that song maybe in the middle of the album or something like that, or maybe into the album with like Gypsy or something like that. Like finish really strong.
Yeah.
I think that would have been cool. Who am I to say? Maybe I'm totally out of my mind, but I think they definitely could have, not cut the song, but finished a little stronger than Shame on the Night.
Even to this day, everybody considers it his most successful album, which I don't know if you agree. I mean,
I don't know the stats on that. Do you guys have that information? What sold better, The Last in Line or?
I know for sure The Last in Line sold more.
Okay.
I think that was probably his best-selling album.
as far as
Dylan's
numbers,
looking it up
might
now.
have been,
But I know Last in Line did sell more than
That
Holy
doesn't
Diver.
matter when we talk about number one sellers.
No,
because
because
of
we
the Van
don't
Halen
care.
debate. I mean,
Yeah,
come on.
there you go. See that? See, there you go, Jen. It's not all about.
Oh,
it's
and
not all
Rolling
about
Stone
number one
magazine.
albums.
And you can tell Rolling Stone magazine.
It's not even a discussion, Jen.
So let it go, Jen.
That's another reason we have Chris on the show.
Rolling Stone ranked it
And you can tell Rolling Stone magazine.
number 16 of the greatest metal albums of all time. So
Yeah, did you see that the other day?
That makes sense.
Oh no, there was a different thing. Someone just posted online the other day, and it was the 100 best debut albums of all time. Rolling Stone, which
Rolling Stone magazine.
I hate Rolling Stone
magazine.
because I think they're a bunch of pompous jackasses there half the time. But
Absolutely.
I went through the list, and there, frankly, as Rolling Stone will do,
Stone mag.
there was a ton of shit that I never even fucking heard of before.
wow.
But there were, I wrote it down somewhere. There were like maybe when we did our debut album show, there were probably 20 albums in that 100 list on Rolling Stone
magazine.
that we talked about on our show. I was surprised there was that many. I was very surprised there were that many.
Well, hats off to you, Rolling Stone.
And you can tell Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah, it's about
People like us that are music snobs, and,
Yeah.
and we actually get it.
Yeah, it's about fucking time they got something sort of right. Go ahead, Don.
So looking on the trusted source Wikipedia,
All right.
Holy Diver peaked at 56 on the U.S. Billboard charts, whereas Last in Line was 24. Both of them
I did see that.
were certified platinum. Funnily enough, actually Sacred Heart was 29, so even Sacred Heart outranked Holy Diver on the charts, and that could have just been because Dio was more of a name.
He was more prominent at when
Yeah.
those ones came out.
And he also had some hit songs on there, like pop. I guess you can call them metal songs. We'll talk about that a little bit.
Oh
later.
yeah, we'll definitely get into those songs. But in Holy Diver Tour, I don't know a lot about how that tour went. I just watched the other day. There was a cool video, I think from Sweden or Finland or something like that, of doing their new stand up and shout. And their stage set was like a mountain, I guess, and the drums were up.
It was
in the
like a
middle and stuff
drape
like that.
almost.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the album cover.
yeah, and pretty cool. But I mean, pretty basic for a band that that was their first tour, first album.
Do we know who opened up on that tour?
I don't. I couldn't find a lot of stuff on the tour.
It's funny you say that.
Go ahead.
Not for this album, but for Sacred Heart. Yeah, you have that Kiss book, the tours and where they played, and then
Right.
I come across it today.
Kiss Alive Forever.
Dio is like that for the tours. You click on it, and they're supposed to be showing Binghamton, New York, Broome County Arena,
Oh, okay.
and apparently it got canceled. I faintly remember something back in the day, and I don't know what happened, but
Oh, yeah?
it was just like that Kiss book, but Dio. I thought it was
But
pretty cool.
just Sacred Heart, though, right?
No,
For
Holy
everything?
Diver.
Everything?
Yeah,
So then that
really?
Passaic show's probably in there.
I couldn't get into it. The Philadelphia, everything was in there for all shows.
Oh, all right.
It kind of reminded me of that book. It said how many people were there, what the place,
Oh, yeah? Well,
how many people could
I'll
be
have to
there.
look for that. I honestly, I didn't do my due diligence on the Holy
There's
Diver
a-
tour.
I found something. It looks like for a couple of the dates, they were second billed under Aerosmith. They also had Y&T opening for them.
Oh, that would have been a good show.
Wasted
Yep.
for the United Kingdom tour. Rough Cut was on a couple dates. Queensryche on the West Coast, it looks
Queens-
like. And Twisted Sister one date in Upper Darby. Anvil in Canada.
Wow, how about that?
Anvil. Wow.
Y&T in Dokken for 2 California dates. Eddie Money in Hollywood.
No
Eddie
kidding.
Money.
And Black and Blue for the last 2
There you
dates,
go.
it looks like.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, so like Black and Blue, they were just starting out in '83. So was Queensryche. So they were like early visions of those bands.
Very
Cool. Thank you, Dylan. Very cool.
Thank you.
All right, so that pretty much wraps up. Go. I'm sorry. Go ahead, BC.
Let's talk about the album cover. I mean,
Okay.
back in the day, it was
A little controversial.
controversial because they're saying he's killing a priest, and even Ronnie James Dio defends it, saying the priest might be
Is the priest bad?
is the priest is battling him and wearing Murray, sending him off. Is not that he's being killed, even though it looks like he's drowned in him or whatever.
Whipping
Yeah.
him in with the chain there.
Yeah, I think he said something along the lines, who do we know is really winning in this battle? It could be,
Exactly,
it could be Satan that is drowning with the chains and the priest. And I always found that to be an interesting comment. And I'm glad you brought up the album cover, because the album cover, much like, the Sabbath album covers, were on the edge. But this album cover, this is the kind of album cover, if you grew up Roman Catholic, you really didn't want your mom and dad to see.
Yeah. That Number of the Beast, you didn't want them to
Or
be
that.
checking out.
And I got a story about the next album cover and the tour shirt.
And I think,
We'll definitely talk about that.
and in this time, I think back then when you went, bands are coming out with albums, like you pick the album up, you had it in your hand, you're like, check this shit out.
Yeah,
It's like,
I mean,
whoa.
you're an impressionable young teenager at the time. You're like,
Yeah.
when you had an actual album that was, we're looking at the cassette box here, which is,
When you have the
very
album,
small. But when you have the album cover, you're like, it's big and it's, you're soaking in every detail.
It's
of it.
beautiful artwork. Now, can you imagine the person that saw Rainbow in the Dark on MTV at the time and said, I got to go buy Holy Diver. And they go into the record store and they ask the person for the new Dio album, and they go in and they hand them this, and they must have
They're
just
like, "What?"
been rocked by that. Well, wait a minute. This Holy Diver, is this the...
Which the video for Holy Diver
Turn
is
it to the
terrible.
back. Okay, got it.
Or for Rainbow in the
This
Dark.
has got Rainbow in the Dark on it, and I guess my point to that is I think that Dio may have sold more records if he didn't have such aggressive album covers. The first two, I love them. I think they but you think about that mainstream that pick up this album and go, wow, I don't know what to do with this.
Right. Food for thought there.
put it on the record player, damn it. That's
Well,
what
I
I'm
know.
doing.
I know.
Again, we're talking mainstream. Right?
Yeah.
But and also the inner liner of the LP record was mainly a montage of pictures of Ronnie with the rainbow and
Rainbow
Black Sabbath.
and Sabbath, yeah. and there were some of the guys in the band, but like not a whole lot. But it was all because it was brand new. And they said when they recorded that album, they were at the studio. The practice area was in one part of the building, and then there was a courtyard, and then the studio was the next. So they practiced during the day, and then drag all their equipment over to the other side of the building, set that up, and then record.
Wow.
Which had to be kind of labor intensive, because I'm sure they were just starting out, and they didn't have their roadies and their crew and all that stuff, and it was pretty much self-financed album, I guess, for how they did it. I guess Ronnie, mortgaged or sold his house or something like that, and the guys were living in a hotel and living in like some guest house or something like that. So I mean, times were tough, but they put out a quality album. I think they just did a friggin' fantastic job doing that.
Well, I think he really knew he had a great band. You look at the musicianship that he had around him, and he just knew he had some magic.
Yeah, I mean, because he's a guy that's he worked with Richie Blackmore, which was like you said, a very difficult person to work with, but like musically great. Tony Iommi and the guys in Sabbath, just great musicians. I mean, here you're around that stuff. You know when there's quality stuff. You know, especially guys like that, and I can say we know it too. You know a good song from a bad song. You know good music from bad music. Some people may not like this shit, but if you're into metal and you don't like Dio Holy Diver, then there's something wrong with you. So there we go with Holy Diver, debut album for him, which was great. Did someone do that on our show? Was that one of the picks?
I believe so.
Okay.
Might have been.
We'll have to go back and look. If it wasn't, that's our bad, definitely. Okay, so now the next album we're going to talk about, we have the extra classic Last in Line, released July 2nd, 1984. And another fun fact that Dylan loves when I bring up, it's 41 minutes and 7 seconds long.
Because that's relevant.
I know. And I didn't tell you how long.
Exciting
I didn't tell you
and
how
fun.
long Holy Diver was. 41 minutes and 36 seconds. Okay.
They were both almost the same time.
Dylan loves that
remasters the
Dylan loves
same?
that I do shit. No, I didn't get into the remasters. We're talking the
29
classic
seconds
stuff.
apart.
That's pretty good. That's good timing. They're
Doing the
timed out
quick
pretty good.
math there.
Last in Line, another great, fantastic album. Awesome songs on it. Opens up with We Rock. I don't remember exactly when I got that album. I'm sure, once, I was into the Dio stuff. You go to the record store, probably weekly, I think I would go at that time. Because, that was paper route money like we talked about before. It was, your album money. Because we weren't really partying at that time, I don't think. I think we were actually in 1984. We were just starting. I think
I was a little young, but-
we were starting a little bit. Now that I think about it,
It was there.
Sorry, Mom.
I remember, and I have in front of me my original Last in Line cassette. Bought it at Listening Booth.
You gotta love this.
Booth, there you go.
This guest, he even brings props.
The day it came out, I remember going down with my friend Dave Leo. He bought it on record. I bought it on cassette. And we were waiting for that one to come out because we were so into Holy Diver, and we knew the Last in Line was coming out. Day came out, right down Dixon City, Listening Booth, Viewmont Mall. Bought it, popped that very cassette into his, I guess,
But I noticed the
car.
but I noticed the cassette's missing. Was it worn out?
It's somewhere. I have
Probably one of
a
them
bag of
cases with
cassettes
all the-
somewhere
with all
else.
the- okay.
And I was only able to gather the covers, but these are the originals.
We appreciate it. We will post I'll take a picture of them before we go, and maybe we'll prop up something by it, and we'll take a picture of that.
And back then, unlike today, where you get to preview songs before they come out on album releases, or you hear the whole thing or download it, that was the first time that we heard We Rock, and
You're going cold on these albums,
and we were like, okay,
there's no
just like
internet,
Stand
no-
Up and Shout, we're in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're invested in the album soon as that opening guitar and drums come on. I mean, they it's weird. It's one of them things too, where once we get into the tours, here's a song that opened the album, but like that was their closing song on the tour.
Yeah.
Which
tours
shows
after
that. Which shows the greatness of the song, that it had that longevity that just totally stayed with the band. How can you get any better than We Rock? Just like excellent. And we talked about the music atmosphere at the time when that album came out, and albums that came out that year, there was a lot of new metal out. Anthrax, Fistful of Metal, Armored Saints' first album, March of the Saint, BC's Holding Up His Beer. But there were some powerhouse albums out too. Iron Maiden, Power Slave was out that year. Metallica, Ride the Lightning. Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith came out. Their follow-up album, Screaming for Vengeance. Just another great year for metal out there. And once again, I think Dio, he made an album that stands up with everybody else there.
I don't see one on your list, and 1984.
Van Halen, 1984. You're right. And I do. I have 1984 written there.
Oh, okay.
It just says albums.
So, my bad. But here's...
But I was going for more of metal albums that were out
Sure.
at that time. I don't consider.
Well, so that was called
but
hard
still-
rock, right?
Yeah, but still another great album that came out that year.
Well, to me, that was a disappointment. I was disappointed when 84 came out, when Jump came out. I was
Even after Diver Down.
Diver Down.
I just put it in that perspective.
I thought was an interesting album. It was a good album in that it's kind of a party album when you go back and listen to it. I think the covers they do are phenomenal. We were just happy to have new Van Halen out in 1982, and it was like, okay, more covers, that's fine. They sound great, but hang them high, and I don't mean to go down this road with Van Halen, but much like you do defaulting to Kiss, I'm going to be that guy.
That's all right. That's okay.
But when 84 came out, and
BC's Lizzie Borden.
I was proud that Van Halen had a number one song because I remember Casey Kasem saying, and number one this week is Jump by Van Halen. But in the same, I can't listen to Jump. They played the last song when they tore now, and I want to walk out. I think that was the worst Van Halen song ever. It just and
I like the solo in it.
Yeah. I think that there's some strong songs on that album. Drop Dead Legs, House of Pain, which was one of the outtakes of the original. Even Top Jimmy, Panama, obviously.
I love
Teacher,
Top Jimmy.
But, so I guess my point to this is Van Halen kind of disappointed me, and I gravitated more towards Dio in 1984.
And actually, Chris is actually talking about this. He has a little sad face on right now talking about this.
Yeah,
the disappointment is showing through.
I was really sad. But then when they broke up, well...
I know. Let's say, like I said last week, every conversation starts and gives us another show that we can write down and do. I was just wanted to give keep up the atmosphere of what was out, and I did see when I was going through the albums, I did see 1984, and I just left that out because I just wanted to give the metal type of feel for what was out at that time. But I don't mean to.
I was going to say I have a
diss
list here.
Van Halen. But just a great album. We can get into some of the tracks here. Chris was talking about We Rock. The title track, Last in Line. My God, just like band that we see, Harpo, they do Last in Line. And it's just like you hear that first part and you're like, oh my, so you can't wait till he comes in with the and it's just like thunderous song, Like I said, I think that is the older brother of Don't Talk to Strangers, just for the way that it kind of I spoke about it before,
Younger brother.
Younger brother. I'm sorry.
I do like the
it's
video
like a
for
building
Last
song.
in Line.
The video for Last in Line is cool.
I remember first seeing that on Friday Night Videos. Do you guys remember that?
Yes.
Because we didn't get MTV here in
No,
Carbondale.
God. Oh, my God. We didn't get MTV.
In the
MTV
early
forever.
80s.
Me, my buddy Rob, and my buddy Chris, we were dating these girls that went to one of the rival schools, and we were dating these girls, and we used to take the bus down to another couple towns down from us, and they were kind of getting mad at us because they had MTV, and we'd like sit and watch MTV all day with their fucking phones. But it was cool. I mean, but even back then when that first came on, you're sitting for like an hour and a half to get that's when I first saw they would play
Duran and everything else.
You'd sit through all that shit. Right. And that one Aha song that was written Take on me with like pencil people and stuff like that. It is kind of cool.
Video.
They pay homage to that in Family Guy.
Yeah, they do. Chris gets pulled in, yeah.
So I mean, and I'm not saying we were dating these girls just because they had MTV. They were very nice girls.
I'll be honest.
I am. And actually, I'm in contact with one of the girls. I'm one of her sister. Very, very nice girl. And Ellen, if you're listening, you're awesome. But you'd have to sit through an hour and a half, and what I was getting when they used to show the Van Halen from the Fair Warning tour, they'd show So This Is Love or Hear About It Later, and it was like, holy shit, because at that point you've only seen pictures of Van Halen.
Yeah.
And here,
Video,
here's which I think was the coolest Van Halen stage. The night, the
the
Fair
81?
Warning one.
Absolutely.
Alex
My
had
dream
the
concert.
black and white
Yeah.
striped drums, and they had the stacks and the city behind him and stuff like that. And Dave at his top of his game, jumping off that drum riser.
Voice
oh my
even,
God!
just
Boy, this has turned
spot
into a
on.
Van Halen show.
Well, I'm your guest.
We have to accommodate our guests. We talked a lot about Motorhead last week when Jim was here. So back to that, the video for Last in Line, very, very cool video. We move on to Breathless, and it was funny because my girlfriend at the time, when I got that, we put the cassette in the car, and you get that breathing, that used to scare the shit out of her. She always used to hit the fast forward button on it when that came on. I don't know if it just scared the shit out of her.
When the band comes in, it just punches
It
you
is.
in the face.
It's great. It's the songs, the arrangement of these songs were just phenomenal. These songs. I Speed at Night, another fast lightning rocker that's of the vein of Stand Up and Shout. Really, really good song. One Night in the City, kind of a mid-tempo rocker, but still a cool song.
Still a
though.
cool
Still
song.
really
Yeah,
cool song.
I like that. They actually did that on that tour.
Yes.
The second song in that was.
We'll get to that, buddy. We will definitely get to that. Evil Eyes, great song. And actually, researching the last album, Holy Diver, they were doing Evil Eyes live on the Holy Diver tour.
Were they really?
Yes.
Interesting.
I was looking through that and I was like, that's weird. I wonder if it's arranged different on the album than they did it live. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't, obviously wasn't on Holy Diver. So I'm thinking maybe it was a leftover song from Holy Diver that they didn't put on the album, but they thought it was a good enough song to do live, which is a really cool song. Mystery. I could definitely live without Mystery. I see Chris has got the face. I think he likes this one.
Yeah, Mystery was okay. I didn't mind it.
Again, we're not saying like, oh my God, it's horrible or anything like that. It's just when you go from the Last Line, I Speed at Night, and One Night in the City, and then Mystery, and it's like,
Dio hated that song too.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
did.
if I'm going to put that up against Hungry for Heaven,
I would have to flip a coin. I
but
would definitely have to flip a coin.
I mean, you almost saw Dio trying to draw from the success of Mystery there when he wrote Hungry for Heaven. But going back to the live performance, I think it was stronger live. If you've seen Special from Spectrum, but it was stronger. Live it sounded stronger.
It did. It had a little more rawness, a little heavierness to
I
it.
think anything live is better. I think.
Eat Your Heart Out, still decent song, real good song. Egypt, the Chains Are On. That was what you could call the
I liked it.
the epic. I thought it was
I
cool.
did.
thought
I
it
really
was cool.
did. Yeah.
And
That never
when
threw
we
me.
get into talking about the show, the special from the Spectrum, we'll definitely get in.
The Last in Line was the first album to feature the keyboardist from Rough Cut,
Claude Schnell.
Claude Chanel.
I read this today on the first album. Jimmy Bain and Ronnie Dio played keyboards.
Ronnie did mainly synthesizers, and Jimmy Bain did the keyboards.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's cool. That's very cool. Yeah, and Doral did a great version, I think, a cover version of Egypt,
don't mind
the
that
Chains Are On.
version.
Have you heard that, Chris?
No, I haven't.
Oh, really? You have to check that out.
check
We'll,
that out.
we'll post that. Very cool
I like that
version.
one.
Yeah, Doro does the song justice, I think. So let's talk about the tour. This is probably going to be more of a conversation between me and Chris. The video that came out for Dio, Special from the Spectrum, August 25th of 1984, Philadelphia Spectrum. Chris was at this show, and I was also at this show. Phenomenal show. Chris went on a bus. How'd that come about for you, Chris?
We were trying to find a way to see Dio, and I was young. And the deal that I made with my parents, I was 13, and that's the summer of '84. And so I had already seen Ozzy earlier on. So I said, well, you let me see Ozzy. And they said, yeah, but that was, a parent took you, and you went to Binghamton, New York, not Philadelphia. We were even considering going to the Passaic show, because, again, bring Dave Leo, my buddy Dave. He was my big Dio fan and music buddy back then. His dad was going to take us to Passaic, New Jersey. Unfortunately, they canceled the concert, and we were left with really no options. And I remember opening up the local newspaper, and in the back there was a small ad that said, Dio, Twisted Sister, March Trailways, bus ride and ticket, general admission, $23. Now, can you imagine that? You can't even buy 2 beers at a concert for $23.
Exactly.
And so we had one of the parents in the group that I went with took us down to the bus station. We got on, and away we went. And my brother's with me, so I was kind of
Leave the driving to us.
And it was, I was probably the youngest on the bus, but it was just a wild ride down there. And We got, to the Spectrum parking lot, and it was just, it was like amazing to me at 13 to see this party atmosphere. And we got into the Spectrum and general admission. I've seen a lot of concerts in the Spectrum. I went to school in Philadelphia, and that was the only general admission show that I was at. And so we ran down to our seats, and
Really?
in the Spectrum that I ever saw it in the Spectrum.
Oh,
It was the
it's
only
great.
general
Okay.
admission show, because they always have reserved seats, and I don't know if they planned it for what they then eventually shot as an evening from the Spectrum. But Twisted Sister opened up Stay Hungry tour, so you think about that. Dio Last in Line, Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry tour, classic concert. And that was a big album that summer too. Stay Hungry was huge.
That
So
was
videos-
that was actually the second time that I saw Twisted Sister that summer. We saw them. They played down the Allentown Fairgrounds with Rat, and it was supposed to be Lita Ford, Twisted Sister, and then Rat. But Lita Ford's bus broke down. Sadly, we didn't get to see Lita Ford that day. Twisted Sister. I mean, at that time they were riding high. Then they were the up and coming band. I'm gonna have to look for the dates. I'm not sure if I saw Twisted first at the Dio show or if I saw them at the show with Rat. I'm gonna have to look that up. If you don't want your kids to hear fuck, number one, don't listen to this show. Don't you listen to it. Don't let your kids listen to this show. But don't take your kids to see Twisted Sister because his mouth is worse than mine. Yeah. I mean. Everything, of course, they're introduced as Twisted fucking Sister, and
that's the name of their documentary.
Yeah, and D just he puts it out there, but we're a great live band. They got the crowd worked up pretty good that night.
They really did. I remember the stage setup that they had as the opener was a pink chain link fence.
Pink chain link fence.
Drums were on the riser in between it, and
Yeah,
they only took up a small section of.
But they still had like their own stage for it.
Yeah, I mean
for
it was a good opening band. Stage, much like Crew did on the show.
Very cool.
But when they broke that down, and
then
Dio
you start to once it came, you seen the stage was a big pyramid. When it first
Murray
came
in the back,
Murray's in the back. But like when it first came on, the pyramid was full.
Yep.
And then when it started, the top of the pyramid came off, and then the drums were there.
Yep, I remember that.
And then the pyramid opened up, and Ronnie came out at the beginning. It was like. Holy shit! Where did you sit for that show? Were you up close or were you back?
I was lower level, stage center, so it was probably in about the 6th row from the floor, but it was a straight on shot.
Okay,
great seats. Actually,
we might have been shoulder to shoulder at one point because like we were right there too.
Really?
We were right there. I didn't know Chris at the time. I knew his brother. And actually, it might have been your brother because someone had 2 tickets and they couldn't go, and me and my buddy Rob ended up going. We didn't go on the bus with one of my classmates, Mike Galati, and one of their friends, whoever had I think it was maybe like Ron Pasco or something like that had the tickets. And we drove down, and the guy that drove this truck guy, I guess his dad was a trooper, and like he was like fucking 90 miles an hour all the way down. We got there like in an hour and a half. It was like we were like shot out of a gun, and me and Rob were kind of looking at each other going, "Holy fuck!" I'm thinking, and I'm like, "Dude, you're gonna get fucking pulled over. I don't care. My dad's a state trooper." I'm like, all right, it's not gonna do us much good if we get into a fucking pile up. But the show was just, I mean, like we said, the pyramid the top came off and opened up. Stand up and shout, "Come on!" You see the guys. Vivian Campbell had that the guitar that lit up.
Yeah. And the video is a great representation. If you want to check it out, you can pretty much see the whole concert. But seeing it live was obviously different. You see a live show and it's a different visual. And some of the songs were left out that were
there were some songs left out
on the video there.
Trying to find out which ones I had it look.
So I have it right here.
Oh, do you? Good. I'm glad you did.
Yeah. So the set list for that show and pretty much the tour was Stand Up and Shout, One Night in the City, Don't Talk to Strangers, Mystery, Egypt, The Chains Are On, Holy Diver, drum solo that went into Heaven and Hell, with a guitar solo that reprised in The Last in Line, and then with a second reprise into Heaven and Hell. Rainbow in the Dark, Rainbow Medley, Man on the Silver Mountain, Long Live Rock and Roll, with the encores, The Mob Rules, and We Rock. That's a set list.
But there was wasn't there part of the Sign of the Southern Cross in there where he did the lights shine up at me and
I think that was
like the Heaven and Hell part.
Part of I think that was in the Heaven and Hell.
But I mean, it was just such a visually great show. It was one of the very first shows that there were any kind of lasers.
Oh yeah, great lasers.
And
I'll tell you what, to this day, and I've seen a lot of concerts. You guys have seen more than myself, but that is probably one of my top 5 concerts.
I totally agree. And we're gonna do a show one of these days about our favorite concerts and stuff like that. And that show is in probably my top 3. We've seen tons of concerts, bands multiple times. I've seen Dio, probably 5 or 6 times, maybe, easily. I mean, nothing will ever top that for a Dio show. I mean, we've seen him at a bar down by us, Tinks.
I saw that show.
And,
in 97 or something like that.
Yeah. And,
not quite the same.
Angry Machines tour, I think it was.
Tracy G.
And but it wasn't. You're in a club. There's no way you're going to duplicate the playing at the Spectrum.
Yeah, but it was also cool to see bands like that in a club.
I agree.
Like,
that's true.
Except that damn post in the middle of the stage.
I know.
That always sucked. But how many bands we see down there? I mean, I've seen tons of bands down there, like bands that you saw in arenas back in the day. You were seeing
right before they broke. You'd see them down there.
And it was like it was nice to see a band that was, instead of being in the middle of an arena, you're like from here to like 10 feet away from them. It's like a whole different feel, I think.
But then on the other hand, like we were saying, you're seeing bands. Like we saw Dio at the Spectrum, and then we're seeing him in a club. But then on the other hand, you're seeing bands like Godsmack there, and then you're seeing them in an arena.
That's where I first saw Godsmack.
You're kind of back and forth with some of the bands. So we've seen Rat down there, we've seen Jackal down there, Cheap Trick has played down there, and it sucks because like no one fucking plays around here anymore.
I saw the Black Crowes in a bar in Atlanta under a different name.
Really?
There was about 100 people. It was in a basement. It looked like the frat basement party.
Like the Rathskeller at Penn
It was
State.
$1 to get in, and they had a keg of beer, and it was right before they released Amorica. And then again, I saw them, in a big stage presence.
They
I know what you
here.
mean. Like yeah, that's right. They did play.
They played here. They played the baseball stadium.
Oh, that's right. But they also played in Pittston back in, I think, the early 2000s.
Okay.
The same thing under a different name, and it's quite a contrast to see him in that small environment. But going back to Dio and the Spectrum, man, that just was an electric concert. The visuals, the stage presence, Murray was moving, his arms were moving. It just,
and
Claude Snell was there, but he was not on stage. He was in the tour book. He was not visible. It wasn't until Sacred Heart that he became a full-fledged member. I believe he had writing credits on that album as well, and he was on stage, which I didn't.
I'm trying to remember. I don't recall seeing that, but I do recall seeing.
He was sitting in the back.
The Sacred Heart tour, and you did see him on stage at that point. Once we get into Sacred Heart, we'll talk a little bit more about him there. But just a phenomenal tour. I mean, you had the Dio. He had 2 albums of material to choose from. He picked good stuff from Sabbath and from Rainbow. BC, I know one of your personal favorites is Man on the Silver Mountain. He did that and Long Live Rock and Roll together. Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules from Sabbath. But I mean, just great stuff.
And he did great versions of them.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, look at the band you got. I mean, those guys they're gonna do justice to anything. And one thing I do remember about that show is when we were on our way home. Whatever local Philadelphia station was on the radio, they replayed that show on the radio.
Live?
Well, not live. They played it after the show was over. So we listened to the show that we just saw on the way home on the radio.
Right, so they actually had the broadcast live that they played. That's incredible. Yeah. They don't usually do that.
Yeah, because I remember we were going home and we're going through this, you didn't have satellite radio or anything like that, and going through the stations and we heard I don't think we caught the beginning. So you hear say Mystery or something like that, and they're like, holy shit, and it's live. And then when they went to commercial, they said we're replaying the Dio. So that was a show that was broadcast live on the radio, and they replayed it right after the show.
Well, it makes sense because they had the recording equipment.
Yeah.
We didn't know that. Well, no, he did mention it during the concert.
He did. Yeah,
but as a whole, you didn't know if it was a one song or whatever.
Right.
You didn't know it was going to be
So it was cool. So I got to just watch the show once and then listen to it again on the way home. So it was cool. I mean, totally happenstance that Chris and I were at the same show, not knowing one another, which was just another one of them things. But very cool, awesome show. You guys, like Chris said, you could probably get that whole show on YouTube. Real quick openers on that tour. Whitesnake opened up for them. I'm not really sure what tour that would have been for Whitesnake. Maybe Slide It In, maybe. Black and Blue Twisted Sister, as we talked about before, Queensryche, which had to be early Queensryche, which would have been probably the Warning. And that was they opened up for them on the Europe shows. Then when they came back, they did some more shows. Dokken and Autograph wanted to open up for them. Some good quality bands on their probably first tours and stuff like that. And I mentioned Chris brought some props. And he brought in his original
Memorabilia,
okay.
We're not a stage show.
That's true. But we are a production, so we have...
So, yeah,
Dylan is laughing at me. I'm sorry,
I
everybody.
actually have a collection of a majority of my tour shirts from going way back, including my Ozzy Bark at the Moon shirt. And I told Steve that I'm going to bring some stuff, and I found my Dio Last in Line jersey. It's a small. It looks like a onesie. Again, I was
I'm like, is that a Dio onesie?
I was
What do you find
13.
Dio onesie?
The 3/4 are cut to kind of a T-shirt now. But,
When they used to be like $12.
but look at the quality of this thing. It's still held up. It's amazing.
Exactly.
I mean, it looks like it was painted on here, not.
It does.
Some
I'm gonna
production.
post a picture of that album. Not the album. I'm sorry, the shirt. I'm gonna do the back and the front. It's amazing. When you guys see it, you're gonna be like, holy! It looks like he could have just bought it at a show last week.
The
It
crap you
seriously
buy
does.
nowadays for $40-$45 won't last
A tenth
anything
of-
like this.
yeah.
Yeah, this probably cost like $15 back
Yeah,
then.
it was. It was insane because I remember when we went to see Iron Maiden in 1983. Just the amount of shirts was just phenomenal. They had like shows from like Texas and New York and all that shit, and they all had their individual shirts.
But everything was
But like everything with the quality was great. I'm just looking at this shirt, just like totally flabbergasted. And the back and the detail on them is just like amazing. When you guys see it, when I post this, you guys are gonna make holy shit. I mean, it absolutely, it's a little worn, but I mean, this shirt was
The print
from
itself is
1984.
pretty clean.
fucking.
If you were to put this on eBay now, Chris, I wonder what it would go for. Phenomenal.
I know some of them are up in the 200s,
34
and this is
years
something that I won't sell. It's
You can't.
It's
You
part
can't.
of my
It's just a part.
history.
Yeah, it is.
you know.
That's a part of you. When we went to see Iron Maiden in New York City, I had one of the New York shirts from the last tour. Dude offered me $200 to take the shirt off my back.
Really,
Yeah,
that's cool.
right. Remember that we were in the restaurant. Guy's like, I'll give you $200 for that shirt. I'm like, the one I'm wearing? He's like, yeah. I'm like,
Vintage.
no, sorry. $200, man. I'm like, no. Sorry. That's.
I mean, Maiden does have a pretty good selection of shirts. Like
They do, but they're smart now. They make just enough to make them in demand. Because you got the
I got the
New York shirt, and you gave RA and Jim the money for it because BC made us go in the bar and drink before the show. So those guys went in.
Horrible person.
And,
Hydration.
That's true. BC didn't want to get dehydrated during the show. So, but Dylan gave his money to RA and Jim, and they went and they got him one of the show shirts. And by the time BC and I went in, they were long gone. Mm-hmm. So,
And some guy actually offered RA money for
Yeah.
that shirt.
Yeah.
It was like 150 for it he wanted.
I know.
And the shirt was like $40.
Yeah.
So
Just crazy.
Even
just the
5
amount of-
minutes
amount of
after it
stuff.
was
Yeah.
sold out, it was already
Yeah.
being.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story about this. So the concert was late August '84, and so we started school a few weeks later, and you know how it was back then. You go get your new school clothes and your first day of school.
Your new
you
they
wear
were
your new
concert shirts.
duds and stuff. And so I walked into 8th grade, and in my class, maybe the exception of you, Brian, and we really didn't know each other. People didn't know who Dio was. You know,
It's
it
weird.
was kind
here-
of a cult.
It's weird
you know,
here in BC called Brian.
That's
Just
true.
saying.
Well, I always knew you as Brian. I always called you Brian. But anyway, I walked in and I remember not only the teachers, but my fellow friends and students were like, "What is that?" And just you'll see it when it's posted, but the front of the shirt is the album cover, The Last in Line.
It's awesome.
So it's got Murray on the front with the big Dio, and all of the disciples of Murray as it looks like it's the end of the world. Pretty interesting. So that was kind of and I was like, you don't know who Dio is, and they're like, no, we have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I know, and it's funny because like
It's like I just saw him.
the teachers would like frown, like they look at you because I mean I would walk in with a Crocus shirt or Accept shirt or whatever. Actually, BB pulled it up for us now on eBay, the shirt that we are going to pull. And actually, the one BB is showing is only a T-shirt. It looks new or newer for $200.
Wow.
And but that's just a black T-shirt with the same stuff that's on yours. So I'm sure that is not a shirt from then, because like there were jerseys then. I don't even remember seeing a lot of concert T-shirts. Most of them were jerseys.
They may have made them like a black version of that. Because you know how it was back then. It was a jersey and then a T-shirt.
Oh my God!
I just remember.
He just showed me a Holy Diver shirt that was $450.
Yeah. Oh, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Holy shit! That's just crazy.
Wow.
You know, I love Dio, but not $450
It's crazy.
worth for a shirt.
Well, this would make a great onesie.
That's
it
what
is
I
a
thought
small.
it was. That's what I thought it was. And he has the sleeves cut off, and it's kind of tapered at the bottom. Looks like
he
you
got
can
a
have the
onesie.
little buttons on the bottom. You can snap the crotch together.
Yeah, exactly. Cause that's,
But Last in Line, classic album, and then we will move on to Sacred Heart, 1985. That came out August 15th, 1985. Almost a year to the day since we saw Dio that year. I thought there was a little bit of fall off on this album. And actually, because last night after listening to all of them, I did the albums in a row, and even the production is not as good. I don't think, because I know at that time that the band was starting to kind of disintegrate because they were having disputes about money. The band thought
Campbell's last album.
Yeah, Vivian Campbell's last album. I think the band thought that they were a band. I think Winnie Dio was protecting Ronnie, that he was the band. So the band wasn't getting his equal share in the money and stuff like that. And I think that they were starting to fracture apart. And this album was also produced by Ronnie, and
Shortest album. Dude.
shortest album too, 38 minutes and 50 seconds. Shaking his head again.
Which
I just do
nowadays,
that. I'm going to do that all the time now.
Who comes out with the album nowadays? It's like 38 minutes long.
No one.
No.
I mean, because these albums, they were like shortened. They were to the point. And like I said, I thought that the production fell off a little bit, because if you listen to all the albums in a row, you listen to Sacred Heart after listening to Last in Line, the guitars are a little more in the background. The solos are not as prominent out there sound-wise as they were on the first two albums. So if you guys, you're out there and you're interested in, album production and stuff like that, kind of listen to that, because you could tell there's a fall off. I don't know if it was, intentional that, Ronnie was putting Vivian Campbell in his place and putting him back to the background or whatever. But there is a definite fall off in production. There are some really good songs on there, but I don't think it's as like right there as the first two albums were. What's your thoughts on that? Go ahead, BC. You got the fist in the air. Go ahead.
Like you said, it just didn't have the punch or the grab you right off the bat feel as the first two albums had. Like you said, it's lacking something. The guitars were a lot lower in the production. I agree, just lacks something there.
It does.
Whether he was trying
and the
to-
cover didn't have Murray on it either.
No, it had a.
Had the dragon.
The dragon is, they call it Denzel.
Denzel. They called it Dennis, I think, in the beginning, and then they called
Dean.
it Denzel.
Originally
Or
called
Dean.
it
Dean. I'm sorry. I'm
and
Dean.
then they call it Denzel, which whatever.
And he wanted to have a storied career in the movies. Denzel.
Denzel.
Training day.
Like I said, it got away from the first two albums because I kind of compared to, again, no bad deal. I remember getting it's like,
Yeah, it was weird. You're used to the first two albums. You see Murray on there, and then you're like, there's a dragon on the front.
it's very like.
I mean, it was kind of cool, but like
Yeah, but it was.
you were
very-
expecting some kind of
compared to the first two, it's
like
very
Murray tearing a
lame.
heart out of something or
Yeah.
something, holding it up in the air. Kind of like is on the new Maiden thing with the Book of Souls, like with Eddie holding the heart and shit like that.
As far as detailed, it was very,
yeah,
Very laid back, detail
very
wise.
laid back.
I remember, again, getting that the first day it came out, not seeing Murray. A little disappointed from the get-go. Put the needle down
Yeah,
on the
and-
record, and the King of Rock and Roll, I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's a live song, and I like that. I thought it was okay. And it just went downhill from there. It's just, in my mind, I know you talked about production, but it seemed as if there was a little bit of an internal feud in the band, and that came true. Obviously, Vivian, was fired.
Yeah, halfway through the tour.
And
After the first quarter,
and it seemed as if it was much like the music that kind of came to be in 85, 86, too produced.
A little overproduced, a little watered down.
We
I
talked-
thought.
we talked
Trying to
about this.
recapture Magic in a Bottle, and I've heard some repurposed, kind of themes and tones in the songwriting. And I know we'll go through the different songs here, but I was really disappointed, and that kind of cut me off from Dio after that album.
Yeah. I think they were kind of getting in a rut. I think one thing at least they did do, they kept the title track as the second song on the album, which I don't even know if anybody noticed that or gets that anal like I do.
You're right.
I mean, cool song, but I think they got a lot more keyboard heavy as they went along, which
the music in general, right?
Yeah. I mean, everything was headed in that direction.
We had this talk. Everything was going that direction, like 85, 86. It was just
that's when the quote unquote hair metal was coming in. The more polished stuff.
You have to have the hit. You have to have the
more glamish. The more the more sequins you have on your pants. The more you're going to be out there or something like that.
Like Rough Cut from their first CD to their second, like. You put those together and you think they're two different bands.
And Rough Cut was an opening band on the tour for that, and it's cool that BC says that because we saw Rough Cut play with Accept and Crocus at West Side Theater in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Rough Cut came out, they were like Saxon, like denim and leather. They got out there, they just rocked. But then when they opened up for Dio on the Sacred Heart tour, I saw them twice for the. Did you go to both shows for that?
No, I didn't go see Sacred Heart because
you didn't go? Oh, okay.
I didn't like the album.
I saw them both on that tour. I saw them with Vivian Campbell.
You couldn't just go to every concert.
I saw them with Vivian Campbell. Then I saw them. They came back again with Craig Goldie. Way better with Vivian Campbell. We'll get into Craig Goldie's thing before. Nothing against him talent wise, but I think he's like the Vinnie Vincent of Dio guitar players. Great player, but just I don't think he ever fit in the band. And we'll definitely get into more of him later. But when Rough Cut came on and opened up for Dio, they were all like the sequin pants and the sparkly coat. And I mean, still like a good live band, but it was a total visual turnaround for these guys. And like if you listen to the first Rough Cut album and the second Rough Cut album, they were heading in that. Everybody was heading in that direction. Then it was just so watered down.
It was.
It was a weird time.
MTV was really becoming a big part of what you were as a musician in a band, and I think it really it diluted the music industry, and we all know where it went after that. But keyboards, I don't dislike keyboards. I'm a big Deep Purple fan. John Lord is one of the best keyboard players.
You can't hate keyboards and be a Deep Purple fan.
But you listen to the tone, even that era when they reformed in the second album after Perfect Strangers, Hospital Light. The keyboard sound was kind of squeaky and that popular 86, 87 sound. And come to find out, I was talking to my brother because he's a huge Purple fan the other day. We were talking about the Hospital Light, and he said, John Lord refused to play some of the keyboards on that album, and then Roger Glover, the bass player, actually played them because he didn't like the direction of the band.
Really?
Yeah, and that just kind of a statement of a band that had keyboards forever, didn't like the way the keyboard sound was going in the music at the time.
Yeah, and there's the guy that plays them, that it could have been a more prominent thing for him playing them, but he didn't want to play them.
Right, he flat out refused. I don't think so.
Shit.
And look, everybody, it was a big money game back then. You think about the Sunset Strip back then, and let's churn these bands out. And just let's get new stuff. MTV
they were signing
outlet.
They were signing anybody with a pulse.
That's it.
Pretty much.
If you look good, we'll get a producer with you. If you could play 6 chords, we're good with it.
Yep. We'll you must have a ballad. You must have a ballad.
That was a formula.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there were some bands that did some really good ballads back then. I think of Skid Row, I Remember You, I think is a good song. It still holds up. But you guys talked about it on the last show. Slave to the Grind blows that first album away.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. But, you go back to this. It was starting to get watered down. Another Life. Another Lie on Sacred Heart. Another Life. That's Iron Maiden.
Yeah, that's not a bad song.
That is good.
Rock and Roll killed him.
Rock and Roll killed him. I think that was trying to be a hit.
Yeah.
Hungry for Heaven, definitely.
Definitely trying to be a hit.
Definitely. That was, they were, I don't know if they were trying to recreate Rainbow in the Dark.
Bad attempt.
Just not good.
That even has, if you listen to the keyboards, I think they borrow some of the Course of Mystery in that.
I think, yeah, it does sound very similar. But I think they come back pretty good. I love like The Beat of a Heart.
Yes, I do too. That's probably one of the strongest songs.
That is a very strong song on there, and that's another song that kind of picks up tempo in the solo too. That really kind of gets going.
Vintage
I
Vivian
really
sound notes.
Yep. And Just Another Day is just another song.
Yeah.
Just Fallen Angel. Fallen Angel sounds like it could be on like like Dokken or like song that like kind of goes more of the songs with like on Lock Up the Wolves or something like that. Doesn't really fit. Shoot.
It's okay. It's catchy, but
bad.
Let's face it. This is not a good Dio album. It really isn't.
It's not great.
It's
not
grown on
great.
me
It
throughout
is.
the
Same
time,
here.
But
It's not great, and that's another ending song on
taking
an
it
album
back to
that
when
they.
we first listened to this, not now, but back then, it was like, oh my
Yeah,
god.
it was very disappointing, right?
Yes,
And,
it was.
and that's
It
why I
was.
didn't go to the, they came,
And that's
I
why
think,
you really
locally.
can't talk a lot about the songs because you really didn't listen to them a lot.
Right.
You know,
right.
most of the stuff I listened to that.
Why
I
did you go
listened
see
to-
him in concert? So you can hear the last in line and everything else,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't do that. I probably regret it because I'm sure it was a great concert.
It was a great show. It was a great show. They brought out but it was like getting more about the show for that tour than it was
music.
about the music. I think these knights come out and they had swords and they were fighting, and then the song "Sacred Heart" was cool. If you listen to, it's on Intermission, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. The dragon roars. I mean, in concert that like was so fucking loud, and it was like so cool when they did that. It was like, and if you listen to it on the album, there's a little roar on the album, but it's kind of back in the mix. But like live, I mean, they cranked that fucker up, and it was fucking loud, and it was so cool. Like it roared in the song, and then it roared at the end of the song again, I think. Because it was just like the dragon's neck in the head, and it was flip back, but it would flip up when it was time to come out and stuff like that. Like I was saying, it was more about the show, I think, at that point than it was about the music and the songs. And they, within the last couple of years, they released a full double album of that tour, which we'll talk about later. But there's not a whole lot to talk about Sacred Heart.
No.
Vivian Campbell left halfway through the tour. Like I said, I saw them both for that, except open up the second time, I think it was. The first time Rough Cut opened up for them. I just saw synchronized drinking on this thing here. Just talking. BC and Chris perfectly picked up their beers and took a drink at the same time. I'm sorry. It was so much better with Vivian Campbell. The next tour with Craig Goldie, I just, I still to this day, I don't think he was a great player, real great player, but just
He did fit.
Like, he was the Vinnie Vincent of the Dio band, I think. I'm sorry, BB. I'm sorry.
No offense, BB.
BB's gonna.
I like Vinny, but just not in Kiss.
I know. BB's gonna. I think we're gonna do a special show one of these days. It's gonna be just BB talking about Vinnie Vincent, and so that took place. The transition took place, and then they came out with Intermission after that. But before we get into Intermission, we are going to check out our weekly Hidden Gems. All right, for our Hidden Gems this week, we are going to get our buddy BB involved here, and I think we're going to let Dylan do a little Hidden Gem here. BB, what do you got?
All right, guys.
Stop banging, BC.
My hidden gem for the week is, I'm just going to do a song. It's called Feel the Shake by Jet Boy. We saw these guys at M3, and it was the first time I think probably all of us has ever seen them live. And they were very, very impressive. Very tight band for being how separated they were. I don't know who the original guys
You
were.
get the singer with the big mohawk.
The big mohawk, and it came out of San Francisco, and they just never got the radio play. They were one of those bands.
No.
They didn't play the ballads.
What year was it?
1988.
Really?
88. Feel the Shake.
That music was just killing itself then.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Not quite at that time. Not
88.
quite. It was peaking then. I think it was peaking.
it was at
That's
the
when they were
peak.
signing everybody with a pulse.
Yeah.
A Paulson who wear a little makeup.
Yeah.
But
Good
Yeah.
call. Good call. Dylan, since you didn't talk too much tonight, we'll let you go next.
Oh, thank you. So, my hidden gem is a band that was only active from 2003 to 2012. They're from Oshawa, Ontario, and they're called Hail the Villain. And they only came out with one album that's called Population Declining. And I don't know how I discovered these guys, but they are like a hard rock, and it's like the lead singer sounds like Chad Kroeger from Nickelback, but he's much better. And the music
Thank
is
God.
a lot better as well. I mean, like, the music in Nickelback's not horrible.
So
but,
they're harder Nickelback.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say... I'm just comparing them to Nickelback because their lead singer kind of sounds like Chad Kroeger.
And they're from
but-
Canada, too.
Yeah, that is true. But like songs like Take Back the Fear, Runaway, My Reward, they're like really rockin', awesome songs. And I don't know why these guys never went anywhere past that album. I know their lead singer left to form another band, but I always thought they should have gotten a little more recognition. So definitely check out Population Declining, the album by Hail the Villain.
We will check that, and we will count on you to post that on the Facebook page.
Sure.
All right. BC.
Okay, I'm gonna go with
He's actually prepared this week. Good boy.
1990 Sleazebees from the Netherlands.
Sleazebees.
Screwed, blued,
Mike
and tattooed.
Bogdanovich, if you're out there listening, he's a big Sleazebees guy.
Screwed, blued, and tattooed. I mean, when these guys came out, this was 90s, of course, was when, in my opinion, music killed itself. But these guys were underrated. I mean, what songs were like "Screw Blue," "Tattooed," when the brains go to the balls, "House on Fire." Steve always posted stuff. You're probably going to see "Stranger Than Paradise" as a video and "Heroes Die Young" as a video, which I think is more their radio-ish side.
Okay.
If you get the album, it's much more heavier than those 2 tracks.
It is very, very good album.
And they continue to come out with 4 more studio albums and a live album.
Yeah, their next album, Power Tool, is freaking
Power
great.
Tool is real great.
They're a band that kind of reminds me of Every Mother's Nightmare that we talked about last week. I think they're kind of same vein of that. I don't know. You may agree or disagree, BC, but they're a band that reminds me of them. Good pick, BC, Sleazebees, really cool pick, good band. Check those guys out. I'm going to pick an album. It was a one-off album. It was a collaboration between who we talked about before, Glenn Hughes, and we talked about this guy also, Tony Iommi. It's an album called Fused.
Such a good album.
It is a fucking unbelievable hard rock metal album. I listened to this last night and I hadn't listened to it in a while. And it, from the first song, Dopamine, to the last song, I Go Insane, it is just fucking unbelievable. Tony Iommi, of course, on guitar, Glenn Hughes, bass and vocals, Kenny Aronoff, great, fantastic drummer on drums, and Bob Marlette plays keyboards. He's been in Alice Cooper and different bunch of bands. And actually, Bob Marlette produced the album. But the album is just unbelievable, and the song that I like the best on there is a song called "What You're Living For." Listen to that song. I will post that song, and I dare anybody that is a hard rock or metal fan to listen to that song and say that it sucks. It is just, Chris has given me the thumbs up on that. It's just fucking great.
I remember you playing that all the time, and I never got sick of the songs.
Shit, I played it last night, and I listened to the song like 3 times in a row. Just excellent. What do you think, Chris?
So I'm going to go with Izzy Stradlin and the Juju Hounds. This was a great album from 1992. Izzy had just left Guns N' Roses. I remember getting this album when it came out. The single to this was Shuffle It All, which you guys may or may not remember. It really has not a hard rock or metal flavor or even Guns N' Roses sound, but it kind of has a Stones, Black Crowes, bluesy, just solid rock album. Some other standouts are Time Gone By. I really love that song. It's an acoustic song, but yet really great melodies, and Cutting the Rug. So I'd recommend it, and I'll post it for you guys.
Awesome. There's our hidden gems for the week. We have a couple by everybody here. We're good. We're good to go. We're going to head back into the Dio discussion now. Intermission. After our intermission with the hidden gems, actually that's kind of appropriate.
Very.
And they wanted to introduce Craig Goldie into the public. I would say they released Intermission. It's mostly a live album. It has the soul song with Craig Goldie is "Time to Burn," which is, I don't know.
Time to burn that song.
Time to burn. Yeah, it's burning time on the album, but it's a 6-song in quotations album. King of Rock and Roll, Rainbow in the Dark, Sacred Heart. Side 2 at the time when you had either cassettes or albums. Time to Burn, which I'm not really sure why it's kind of like right in the middle of the album. It's just the studio song.
It's fucked up.
And then there's a medley of Rock and Roll Children, Long Live Rock and Roll, Man of the Silver Mountain, and then We Rock. If you think that what we discussed, what I discussed before about the production on it, that the guitars were scaled back on Sacred Heart, they're really, really scaled back on Intermission.
Everything was when Greg Goldie came in before they put this out. They overdubbed all the rhythm guitars with Greg Goldie. Vivian, the solos are him. Everything else is Greg Goldie.
Really?
That's what I read today.
Oh yeah.
I did a little homework.
Yeah, it is. It is over like the rhythm guitar.
Oh, actually, I do
But
see that there.
Campbell was in charge of the guitar solo.
He was
It was his guitar solos.
It was his solos, and they overdubbed Greg Goldie in on the rhythm guitar parts.
Really, a little creative production there from the Dio clan. Not a great album. Chris, your thoughts on this one?
I remember getting this only because it was a live collection, and at the time, I didn't know that Vivian left, and so it was just, here's a piece of live music from the Sacred Heart tour, and yeah, it was okay. I didn't like the Time to Burn insert in there, and you could tell it just didn't have Vivian. And then when I read the liner notes, I realized that Vivian was gone.
Yeah.
It was like, oh wow, okay, this is really falling apart.
Yeah. The cracks were, they were shattered by then. I think I would have been a little more excited if it was like a actual full tour album, but it was just, I think, just kind of something they threw out there. It
was an intermission from their studio albums in a way.
Yeah, it was a shitty intermission. Just King of Rock and Roll. If it wasn't live on Sacred Heart, it would be cool to hear it live again. Hear it live. But it was like
It was like being repeated.
Same way. It's like
Repeat.
You open your last two albums with the same song. If it was truly live or whatever, I don't know. But what I actually forgot to that's our end of the discussion on intermission, because I think it's not really worth spending a lot of time on. But before they did that, what I think was the death knell for Vivian Campbell and the band was when they did the Hearing Aid Stars. Apparently, it was that's when We Are the World came out, and all the pop people, there you go, BC, Michael Jackson, and all those, Bono and all those people, they did that song, which hey, they raised a lot of money for starving people and stuff like that, which I'm not against at all. But the metal guys wanted to do something, so it was Vivian Campbell and Jimmy Bain that came out with the idea. Well, why don't we do a metal type version of something like that? And I guess Dio came in and took the whole fucking thing over. And it snowballed, and him and Vivian were fighting at the time. And if you watch the video for Stars, or even listen to this, you kind of have to listen to watch the video and then listen to the song, because it shows each guy that plays guitar on it. Craig Goldie's on there just as much, if not a little more, than Vivian Campbell playing the solo parts in that song. I mean, I think it's... The song itself, we're stars. It's a little self-indulgent, I think, lyrically. But I mean, the music you can't beat. I mean, you have the rhythm tracks were put down. They had two drummers. They did Frankie Benelli and Vinny Appice was they were the two drummers on it, and Jimmy Bain on bass. Vivian Campbell did the rhythm guitar parts on it. Dave Murray and Adrian Smith from Iron Maiden did the melody guitar part in it. But just the guitar solos that were on this song are just fucking incredible. If you just want to hear a 1980s metal rock shred fest, the lyrics are very self-indulgent, like I said before. Just go into it for the guitar solos. The guitar work in it is just phenomenal. Vivian Campbell, Carlos Cavazo, Buck Dharma from Blue Oyster Cult, which I'm not sure how he snuck in there. Brad Gillis from Night Ranger, Craig Goldie, George Lynch, Yngwie was on there. He must have really hated that, because there's a bunch of lead singers on this album. He must have really fucking hated that. How dare those guys sing when I can sing? Neil Schon from Journey, man, he friggin' tore it up on there. There's
underrated.
Just so much friggin' great. Neil Schon is
He's a great guitar player.
A great guitar player. So you guys check that out. But it was weird. They put out a compilation album too. I'm gonna run through the songs real quick. It opens up with the song Stars, and then it has Up to the Limit live from Accept, which is weird because there's no guys from Accept on that song. On the Road live from Motorhead. There's no Motorhead guys on that thing. I don't think. I don't see any. Nope. Distant Early Warning live from Rush. Rush isn't on there either. Heaven's on Fire from Kiss. There's no Kiss guys on there.
Maybe it was they couldn't make the session, so they threw them a bone.
I don't know. Hendrix, Can You See Me? I don't even know what the fuck that song is. I'm not a Hendrix fan by any stretch of the imagination. Then Hungry for Heaven live, Chris's favorite song live, is on there. Y&T Go for the Throat, which is a great song, and at least Dave Meniketti is one of the singers on the song. And the Scorpions, The Zoo live. So it's a very weird album.
At least it's a good
songs to put out for that, which I'm just putting my notes underneath my thing because I think we discussed that long enough. But if you want to hear some really cool shredding solos, check it out. Chris, any thoughts on that quick? Or?
I remember when it came out, it was the Metal Guys version of USA for Africa, We Are the World. And so the song was pretty lame, but I do remember the guitars being very strong in it and some great players. So, us metal fans back then kind of gravitated towards it, and it just kind of faded away after that.
Yeah, it's a cool. Like I'll throw it in a playlist every now and then. I just love the guitar stuff in it.
Guitar part, yes.
Yeah, I could do without the rest of the song. He fast forward till you get to the solos, and then when the solo's over, just push for the next song. BC, anything other than that?
On the Stars, no. I mean, other than the guitar parts, the rest is redundant.
It is absolutely. And actually, I never even bought the album. I don't think I did, because I was doing research for the show. I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, that shit's on there. I'm like, why the fuck is that stuff on there? Because it has nothing to do with any of the people that are involved in the song itself. Like BC said, maybe they, or I don't know who said it. Dylan. I think Dylan said it. That maybe they threw them a bone. That was maybe these bands' contribution to it that couldn't be involved with it due to scheduling or touring or whatever the hell.
Gene Simmons would
be Gene Simmons, they couldn't afford Gene Simmons.
They couldn't afford Gene Simmons.
Actually, when that came out, in...
he doesn't volunteer time.
That came out in 85, so that was when Gene Simmons was doing his Hollywood thing. He didn't have time for fucking Kiss at that time, let alone time for Dio and stuff like that, Ramsey. He was battling Tom Selleck in Runaway and Rutger Hauer in Wanted Dead or Alive, I think the movie was.
What was that movie he did? It was like a Halloween movie or something?
Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat. He was in Trick or Treat.
Yeah, it was like the disc jockey.
Awesome soundtrack, though. The soundtrack for that from Fastway is just freaking great. We're not going to go over any other Dio albums. The other Dio albums that are out there. There's Lock Up the Wolves, which awesome good guitar player Rowan Robertson is on that. Then they did Angry Machines and Magica and...
I didn't really get back into Dio after Greg Goldie until Angry Machines, I don't think.
That was not a bad album, though. Angry Machines was cool. That's when we saw him down at Tink's. That's when everything was dying out, though, too.
I started giving Dio after... Greg Goldie just turned me off the Dio. I mean, no offense to anybody likes in Greg Goldie, no offense. But
no, I mean, excellent guitar player. We've seen him, live with Dio a couple times, and we saw him with Dio Disciples at M3. Which was phenomenal, but he's just a standing guy playing guitar. BB's imitating him, just kind of standing there strumming. Great player, but just very unexciting live. I don't know. I'm not a huge Craig Goldie guy.
Playing is great. Campbell and be like that.
Absolutely. So at this point, Dio went through the rest of his career. Went back with Black Sabbath, and I think it was 92. They did the Dehumanizer album, which was friggin' great.
That was.
And then that fell apart again. Then he went back to Dio, did a couple more albums, and then he got back again with Sabbath and did Heaven and Hell, which they had one studio album and 2 live albums, which the Heaven and Hell stuff is just phenomenal. The Heaven and Hell stuff is just fucking great. And here's actually the time for my public service announcement. Dio died of stomach cancer, colorectal cancer, and he wouldn't go get checked. And by the time that he was feeling so sick and he got checked, it was too late. So guys like my age, BC, you're getting up there. You guys go get checked out.
What the fuck you talking about?
Huh? Yeah, you're 22. So like women, they get their mammograms and stuff. The guys, you need to get your I think it's like PSA tested, which is pretty much getting your colonoscopy and stuff like that. Guys, it's it's uncomfortable. I'm sure. I mean, I haven't had it yet, which I'm gonna probably have to have it next year or the year after. But do it. It could save your life. It could have saved Dio's life. If he did it sooner, we would probably still have him around right now, making more awesome metal out there. So guys out there, get yourself checked. Women out there, get your mammograms. Stay safe out there and everything. So Dio passed away in May of 2010, I believe it was.
Yes.
And that was right before M3. So there was a bunch of tributes that bands did at M3 that year, which was kind of cool. And then now the legacy bands come about. A couple of them last in line. The original Dio band, Vivian Campbell, Jimmy Bain, Vinny Appice, singer Mark Freeman. We talked about these guys a little bit. I think maybe last episode or one before that we talked about these guys. And they were playing on the Def Leppard cruise. Jimmy Bain passed away on the cruise ship, and which was very sad. And actually he passed away right on the cruise, but that was like right before the album came out. So he didn't even live to see the album that he was on come out, which was like like a double shot. We could do a little toast to Jimmy Bain. Love you, buddy. Great music. There you go, BB. Great musician. I've never met the man, but I guess he was a cool guy. And Phil Sassoon took over to play at Ozzy's band. We met him at M3 a couple years ago. Super nice guy. And we got to see Last in Line last year, BC.
We were going to see Saxon, and it was sold out. We were all bummed out about that. And here we were, let's go see Last in Line. It's a concert, live show, so let's go see it.
It was great.
We went to see it, and then you ever walk in the show, and they come out, and it just kicks you in the face, and you're like,
yeah, it was great.
You knew it'd be good, but you didn't think it'd be this good.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling me, guys.
You didn't answer the phone.
I'll tell you, I regret. I wanted to go see that. I kind of had it calendared, and I just wasn't able to make it. And I wish I did. And it sounds like it was a great show.
It was.
It was phenomenal. We're there. It was just great to see Vivian Campbell playing them songs again.
Being able to play.
It was just great. The sound was still there. And like we were like right there, right at the front, and he was just great. Andrew Freeman. I think it was last episode we talked about this quite a bit. But I just wanted to kind of recap that. I mean, just a phenomenal band. Here's some of the songs they did: "Stand Up and Shout," "Straight Through the Heart," "Devil in Me," which is a song on the album "Heavy Crown," "Don't Talk to Strangers," "Evil Eyes," "Holy Diver," "Already Dead," which is another Last in Line song. Then the song "Last in Line," "Martyr," "Invisible." When they did "Invisible," I was just like, "Holy shit!"
They didn't even really do that back then.
No.
The poor guy next to me, I punched him right in the face.
That must have been quite a moment. That's a great song.
It was great. I'm like, because we went in kind of cold into that show. We didn't really know what they were going to do. We knew they were doing songs from the first 3 albums, but when they did Invisible, I was like, holy fuck! It was just, oh my god, just phenomenal.
You walked out of that place like, holy shit.
Yeah. And then Rainbow in the Dark, Star Maker, Egypt, The Chains Are On, and We Rock. This is the set list from the show before we saw. I'm pretty sure it's the same exact set list because this website, Setlist FM, it has like every friggin' Last in Line show except the one we were at. Which is kind of
There was only about 30 people there.
It was not.
There was more than that.
40?
At the Last in Line show?
Yeah, I don't think
Last in Line?
No, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't.
It was
packed,
but there was more than that.
Even better, more room.
Yeah, there was at least a couple hundred people there.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about spilling your beer.
He doesn't agree. He does not agree.
Hey,
we're gonna call the Sherman Theater and ask what their attendance was.
That's great. That's just more room for me.
Yeah, but they played like they were playing for a stadium full of people, and
It's a nice stage to play on too.
that Dylan's played on that stage.
I'm sorry, that was a phenomenal show. Mm-hmm. I left there going, holy shit.
BB's in total disagreement with us.
I knew it'd be good, but I didn't know it'd be that good.
I didn't think there was that many people there, though.
There was there was more than you thought. It was
maybe because I didn't turn around at all.
Counting heads.
287.
He talked to the guy with the clicker at the door.
Hey, how many?
Census taker.
It wasn't packed, but it wasn't empty.
It
was more than 30.
Hey, I don't care.
That's
As long as we were there and saw a great show, I don't care.
Like
I said, they played
levels.
for like a capacity.
Nothing against Stephen.
It's a great set list.
Excellent set list. I was like, holy shit!
So you saw them in Sacred Heart. Did they play "Hungry for Heaven"? They had to.
I'm gonna say probably.
Did you head to the restroom?
I'm gonna say probably. That's definitely a piss song. I have because they released the album from that a couple, like maybe 1 or 2 years ago. Here's the songs that they did on that tour. They did "King of Rock and Roll," like "The Beat of a Heart," "Don't Talk to Strangers," "Hungry for Heaven." There you go. "Medley," "Last in Line," "Children of the Sea,"
Ooh, that's
Heaven
cool.
and Hell.
That's really cool.
Drum solo, then back to Heaven and Hell like they always do. Keyboard solo, guitar solo, Sacred Heart, another medley, Rock and Roll, Children, Long Live Rock and Roll. Then they did Time to Burn. Another. Hey, you got 2 Piss songs in this set. Stand Up and Shout, Rainbow in the Dark, We Rock.
Okay.
So pretty solid.
Yeah, it is.
Except for
I like the Children
2
of the
songs.
Sea. That's one
Children
of
of
my
the Sea is
favorites.
cool.
Added in
That
some
is a
White
good song.
Sabbath.
First song that him and Tony Iommi wrote together. But cool band. Last in Line. And then you have the Craig Goldie version. Actually, you have 2 Craig Goldie versions of Dio tribute bands. You have the Dio Disciples that we saw at M3. That was Craig Goldie, Simon Wright on drums. Again, no relation that I know of. Bjorn England, he was bass player. Scott Warren on keyboards. Ani Logan and another guy named Joe Retta on vocals. Remember there were 2 vocalists that night.
He was a bad.
They were good. They put on a solid set, and I mentioned it before when we talked about it. They did like the whole song Stargazer, which I was like,
Stargazer.
I was
incredible.
like holy fuck, usually when Dio would do it, he'd do a little snippet of it and move on. And actually the last time we saw Dio, when we saw him with Maiden at Madison Square Garden, did the whole off Stargazer, which was like,
That's one of my
crap.
favorites.
That's really good. Like I said, I last episode I said I like a light and black a little better, a little more than Stargazer, but I mean just like classic song, and like the people were like, holy shit, like because when they started Stargazer out of the Garden, I'm like, he's only gonna do a little bit of it, and then I'm at one point like, holy shit, they're gonna do the whole fucking song, and they did. It was really, really cool. And then the other band that Craig Goldie's involved in, it's another Frontiers record made up band from what's the guy's name, Alexandro Del Vecchio. The band's called Resurrection Kings. They have a full album out, and it's a very good album. But the difference between Last in Line and the Resurrection Kings, if you look at the song credits, all the songs from the Last in Line Heavy Crown are all written by Vivian Campbell, Jimmy Bain, Vinny Appice, and Andrew Freeman. But if you look at the Resurrection Kings, like Craig Goldie has only written 1, 2, 3, like 4, 5 out of the 11 songs. He's a co-writer in it. And there's some songs that Alessandro Del Vecchio is the sole writer on them. It's a really good album, but it's not as authentic as the Last in Line guys are. I mean, this is the Last in Line guys, because they're the guys that wrote the initial songs of Dio, and they're the guys that wrote them, performed them, and you have kind of that feel in the band. But Resurrection Kings kind of sounds like something thrown together, and I don't think that they played any live shows, which Frontier Records guys are known to do. They do a lot of kind of super groups throwing different guys together and stuff like that, and then they never play. They just don't. Some of these bands, they just never play a show. Like I said, I looked up Resurrection Kings. I couldn't find any shows that they played. But just have you heard that album, BC?
Here's another BC confession.
Steve,
I borrowed it off Steve, and it did hit me. I was like, it was lacking something.
It's not bad.
And as time went by, I went out and picked it up myself, and it's growing on me. I know maybe I was looking for something that
that wasn't there.
My anticipation was more than what it was. Maybe I don't know, but I went out and bought a copy for myself, and I threw it in a few times, and it's growing on me. I like it.
It's not a bad album. It's not a bad album. There's more rocking type songs than is on Last in Line. The Last in Line album, Heavy Crown, I think has a lot of more mid tempo things.
But it's good.
But it's good.
Good
But they
mid-tempo.
kick in. Chris, you know anything about these guys?
I've not really listened to any of the music. I'll take your word for it as far as what is good and what isn't.
We're going to give you a mission to check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, and I that it's not bad. It's not they're not a bad band. But like I said, if you're going to be a band, I don't think you're really a band until you play live shows. You need to get out there. And the guys in the band, it's Sean McNabb was on bass, Vinny Appice on drums, Craig Goldie guitars, and then Chaz West, the guy's name is, that did the vocals on that. And real good singer, but just not out there playing. You just need to. I think you really need to get out there playing. Any last words on any of the Dio stuff, BC? You got anything else for us?
God bless Ronnie James Dio, I think.
Yep, Chris.
Ronnie was a great musician, great songwriter. It was a magical time, the first two albums in my mind, as far as what Dio's mark was in his solo career. Like I said before, Sacred Heart just didn't do it for me, and I just kind of lost interest. I went in a different direction as far as my affinity to Dio, and I did catch him in '97, and I think it was '97 down at Tinks, and it was still good to see him. But you go back to the first two albums, and they are just monumental albums.
You're not gonna beat or duplicate them.
They stand the test of time.
Absolutely, I could not agree more. BB, any Dio thoughts? We'll let you get in a little bit here. What do you got for us?
No, geez, he's just a great storyteller with his music. It's sad that a guy like that is gone, and the stories he told through his music and the lyrics, it just paints that picture in your head. And the bands today, they don't even come close to anything that Dio ever did. It's sad to say that he's gone, and horrible the music it's left. The music that Dio made will probably hardly ever be touched again.
Yeah, he definitely left his mark on the metal world, I think, and he was not a big man, not a tall statured man, but I mean the guy had just a monster of a voice. I mean he did his fighting with his voice. This guy, they say he was a really, depending on who you talk to, they say some people he was difficult to work with, but someone like that, his name's on it. His name is on the stuff that he did. I would think that if I had a band named Steve Wright, which is ridiculous, but if I had something that had my name on it, you want to be known for putting quality stuff out there, and I could see times where he would not like the way things are going and be difficult, but like that's his name on it, and he definitely had a very distinctive voice, and his music will live on forever.
Being difficult for a good reason, though. Not just being difficult to be difficult.
The results showed it.
Like Vietnam's thing. Sorry.
We all know Tammy Langan, who had a phenomenal. She's a local photographer that had a phenomenal career in the heyday of the music scene, and she shared some stories with me about Ronnie Dio as far as his personality, and she often said that he was just a really sweetheart of a guy, as she termed it, a very welcoming person, and she had some great experiences working with Ronnie, as photographing him on the Last in Line tour, as well as Sacred Heart, she mentioned. And
so she was probably at the show that we were at too.
She was, and she's got a wealth of great stories and a great library of photographs from back then. And
she was.
She's someone who should put out a book of just pictures.
I know. She was someone that I'm considering having her on the show, for stories like such as that, because she was the house photographer at the Spectrum.
Yeah.
When she was, I believe, going to photography school in Philadelphia at the time, and she was the house photographer for the Spectrum.
Yeah, she started in I believe '79. One of the first shows she did was the Eagles, and she's got some great stories. And a little known fact, but if you look at the Panama video by Van Halen, it always goes back to Van Halen.
It does.
So the party scene, when everybody goes Panama and they raise their cup, Tammy's in that.
Really?
And that was filmed in Philadelphia at what used to be the Holiday Inn.
I'm gonna have to watch that video again.
That's
now.
cool.
I'm gonna be stopping. I'm gonna be clicking pause on that. That's cool.
Yeah, and we saw Van Halen in '07 together, and I actually stayed in that hotel with my wife, and she was telling me all the stories. Oh my God, she goes back then, and Dave and this, and it was just like to hear the stories and be in the actual building.
Tammy's got a ton of great stories. Yeah. Tammy, if you're out there listening, we love you. You're awesome. And
do a book.
Yeah, really, just do and I actually, when Quiet Riot played the West Side Theater, right as Metal Health was breaking, I have pictures that she took from that show in somewhere in my house. I'll have to dig them out too. But awesome. Dylan, you have any last words for us here tonight?
How can you beat Dio? He is, the metal father, if you will. His music is just timeless. I always loved listening to him, and I love all the stuff that he put out, especially the Black Sabbath stuff, and also what he did with Heaven and Hell. I love that album, and those two live albums are great. So
awesome.
Dio's always in our hearts.
Absolutely. Ronnie, if you're out there somewhere in time listening to us, we love you. Awesome music. And I want to thank Chris for coming on with us tonight, and BB for hanging out and bartending for us, and Dylan for doing the awesome work that he does, and BC for, you're pretty conscious for this episode tonight. We appreciate it. Look at BC, he's laughing. I bust his ass all the time. BC does an awesome job.
That was very quiet.
I just want to thank everybody out there for listening. Keep listening to us. Share us out there. You guys, you're starting to interact with us, and we appreciate the shares and the comments you guys make, and liking us on Facebook. Get out there. When we post our things, share it with your friends. We're trying to get this episode out there. And actually, as you're listening to this episode, BC and I will be on the road to Nashville, if you're listening to it when it's released on Friday, to the Rockin' Pod Expo that is going to be down there. If you're in the Nashville area, stop in.
Have a beer with
there.
us.
Have a beer with us. We're going to be down there checking everybody out, talking to a lot of guys from a lot of other podcasts and stuff like that. So we'll be down there, maybe partying a little bit, but, networking with other podcast people. So, thanks, everybody. Last words, Dylan.
Ronnie James Dio, amazing guy.
BC.
Ronnie.
Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Hey, no problem, buddy.
A lot of
Awesome having you.
great conversations tonight.
I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate you coming on, and it was good having you on here. BB.
A little salute to Dio. Up the horns.
Up the horns, baby.
The
Everybody
Godfather of metal.
Up the horns.
Ronnie James.
Ronnie James. All right. Thank you, and look for us on iTunes and Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, and CastBox also at this time. So we will see you again next time, and there will be a next time. Goodbye.
And you can tell Rolling Stone magazine.